So what do we got?
Well, I just went through and I basically compared and contrasted the two documents, right? So everything that is written here is a combination of the original document and the new proposed bylaws. So the strikeouts are text omitted from the original bylaws, and the highlighted text is added to the proposed bylaws. It just gives a better understanding of each article.
It
as to the
only
changes.
does if the people who are reading this have read both.
That's why I put both of them there.
I know, but they won't understand that. I'm telling you, as a teacher, I know what people read and how they think, and they're not going to understand because this isn't exactly how it was done either.
What do you mean?
And going through it, because that one is so old, the old one is so old, that it talks about things that are no longer in existence.
Like what?
Like having access to the beaches, and that we own the roads. We don't own any roads.
I never read anything about the beaches in here.
That might be in the articles then.
Right, the articles.
And the articles are going to be a lot harder to get changed.
The articles are superior to this document, right?
Well, no. I've learned a lot in this past. And in speaking with the lawyer, I learned even more. I thought I knew it and I didn't. You have articles, you have bylaws, you have covenants and restrictions. Those two things are basically the same.
The covenants and restrictions in the article, bylaws.
No, bylaws are separate, but restrictions and covenants are basically the same.
Okay.
The articles say who the association is, and basically a mission statement, using a newer term. The bylaws are rules that you're going to follow, and the covenants and restrictions are more severe or more detailed rules about how and what you can do within your community.
Okay. How come those were removed from the old one and not put in the new one?
Which one?
The
Tell me what your concerns are. It's better to
Okay.
go like that.
It's the reference to, well, the purpose was to maintain the roads and improve access roads within the long borders of Yellow Cliff subdivision. That was the whole purpose of the bylaws.
Yes, and because now we're working on, but it's going to take more time legally, to look at the articles and to look at the covenants and restrictions. The reason being, and I'll give you the history so you can kind of gather what we're dealing with. In the 60s, okay, there were 7 different groups. East End Associates, the Cotton Valley Associates, some other ones other names, okay? These are groups of gentlemen who got together, bought parcels. Now, originally, I say matrix, and it's matricula. That was a big piece of land, which got divided into parcels. These guys bought the matriculas, divided them into parcels. Those got divided into plots. Once they got divided into plots, they started saying that's Cotton Valley, that's Yellow Cliff, that's this, that's that.
Okay.
So each one of them had a different set of these lands. And each one of them had their own either articles, bylaws, or covenants. Not necessarily the same thing.
Okay.
Because they were just businesses at the time. They weren't associations. Now, all of a sudden, in 1979, well, 74, no, 79, I think it actually got documented. It became Yellow Cliff Association. Now, in that, the articles stated specific plots.
Okay. That were in the association at that time?
Yes. And some of them are wrong.
Some of them
Some
are
of them
wrong.
are over on that side of the hill, which have nothing to do with us.
Oh, South Shore Road.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, how can that be? I mean,
Yeah, how can that
why
be?
today?
That's what the lawyer is, and we're now trying to sort all this stuff
Is that why
out.
you said back that there was like 100 and
Let me
there
get
was
some of my
more?
paperwork.
Because I remember reading one of the things we had that listed how many plots there was, and that's why I said that many.
No, I'm not including those.
Oh.
We have that many plots.
That picture that was taken for these 300-foot roads that was done, that picture, I can only get the highest number of lots I could get was 117. I never saw a number higher than
Yeah,
117.
but don't forget, some of them are road plots.
Oh, they're road plots.
Some of
Okay,
them.
okay,
Some of them are road plots. Some of them have been subdivided.
okay.
You've got A's and
And
B's.
like combined? When
Yeah,
they
combined.
subdivide them, do they make it just one plot or
No.
do they do A and B?
A and B.
Okay.
Or they just don't do nothing.
Okay, because they'd have to take a number out, like if you had 4 and 5, and I bought 5, and I subdivided them, and it'd be 4 A and B, and then 5 would be gone.
Well, you
No.
can't
No.
subdivide.
No.
You can't subdivide.
No.
Unless, the only person who can, there are a couple of people who could subdivide, but subdivisions can't be less, a plot cannot be less than half an acre.
Oh, yeah, yeah, what I was
It's gonna
talking
be
about, not
eliminated.
subdivide, but combine the lots is basically.
Yeah, you
what-
can,
replat,
But,
replat.
and that's one thing that is kind of stated already, but will have to be firmly stated. Because Jason Britton's going through it now. He has 99 and 106 together. And a lawyer bought it a while back.
Mhm.
Now, that lawyer went to taxes and had it combined, so it was being taxed as one property. And then he wanted the association to not make it 2 fees, just 1 fee. That's not allowed.
But it has
If
to
it
be
was 2
legally
fees, it's 2 fees.
platted. has
It
to
is.
be legally platted
It
as
is.
one lot.
It is.
Oh.
No,
For
it's
taxes,
as
not-
it says 99 plus 106 will now be treated as one lot, but it's still known as 99 and 106. But he can't do that to the association. Otherwise, everybody might eventually put the whole thing together and it's no more than 1 fee.
Sure.
So it's still
Now,
2
that was
fees.
a lawyer doing that,
Yeah, on his own, for his own benefit.
you know?
You're
Well, I
gonna get rid of
understand that
property
too.
tax.
Please.
Well, you know, when he did that, I mean, I don't know if that, I guess it saved him money, but I don't know how, in the sense that,
It's paying tax on one property.
yeah, but it's an improved property. So when you put both of them together, you increase the area of land, but you improve, it's all one improved property now.
Yeah, but it's one property.
Now, see, when
Yeah.
you looked at the old bylaws,
Mm-hmm.
what you didn't do was go back to all these.
All these being what?
All these documents. Every one of these documents has to be read and understood in order to understand the bylaws.
But what is this? This is an old bylaw?
This is the amended bylaws.
This is going back
But
to
this is
97.
not, yeah,
And
this
this
is going
was
back
a-
to 97, but
Yes, that's the
different
last
from this
bylaw.
bylaw.
No, these are the bylaws I sent you. These are the original
Oh,
bylaws.
oh, they are the original bylaws, and they do have the preceding page.
Right,
Yes.
but now without
When
all
I
these
started, I
pages-
started on this because you weren't making changes to this.
Well, yes and no. Because, like I said, in order to
Well-
understand where this is coming from, you have to understand this. So, when it says to repair within and along the borders, we don't own the roads.
But I thought
So
you
we
said you
have
didn't
no
know
right-
that yet.
Yeah, we do, I do know. I know the 3 within this community, 74, 5, and 6, are owned by Paul Ramsden, who owns plot 51, which is for sale right now.
Mhm.
The one by you.
He claims, I don't see it in any legal
One by me
document.
is 5. Oh, 51, the guy, Paul, okay, yeah.
So, what's going on there, and if you're running for president, you're gonna wanna know all this stuff.
Mhm.
And I would love to have you run for president, because you do something. You might make a phone call at least, you know?
You might laugh about it as well.
Yeah,
First
I'm
thing
not
out of his
laughing
mouth-
about it.
the
I
first
lost
thing
my
out of
life
his mouth
last
is,
year.
I haven't got time for this. We're gonna have a show meeting.
So, anyway, he says that he couldn't buy his lot unless he bought the other 3. Now, it was owned by something called DHL Realty, which plays a lot in some of these back documents. So he bought it. Not knowing I'm responsible now. If you had a car accident, damaged your car, or broke your ankle jogging on these roads, you could sue him for not maintaining his roads.
No kidding. So it's not a dedication? There's no record of dedication of these streets?
Yeah, it was deeded to him. He's got a deed.
Well, he's got a deed. See, back in the States, I
And then
I own an
82.
underlying fee of a road.
Yeah, we don't have that here.
No.
You don't own to
underlying
the
fee,
middle of the road.
road is not
No.
dedicated.
No.
I don't mean own the middle of the road, but I mean that the road was a piece of land at some point and somebody owned it. The developer of the whole community.
Right, that was what was here.
Got these roads, okay, and dedicated those roads to the community, okay? But the road is the road, underlying is the underlying,
No, that doesn't exist here. That's not what goes on in St. Croix. Hey,
Okay,
hey.
so let me
So
ask you-
anyway, 82, which is like Pony Club Trail,
Yeah,
going
all
up
the way
to
up.
Hawk's Nest and some of that, leading up to the
noticed those
tower, but
other
not to the
houses
tower.
being-
Those, yeah, that's Cotton Valley, those houses that are being built. There's a little section there that's Cotton Valley. Do I have a map?
So they don't
In
have to
that
maintain their
file
own road?
drawer, Tony, in that file drawer,
Yeah.
there's a section towards the last third that says maps. Just bring the whole folder, okay?
So that one is.
So anyway, that's plot 82, that's owned by the government,
Okay,
which we have to get after them to take care of it.
okay, so.
Now, 30, which is Hibiscus Circle,
Yeah,
and what's right alongside of you, that's all Hibiscus Circle, that, I still have a title search going. I found plot 30 listed in one document only owned by I can't. So, over here, see this little square here?
yeah.
So this part of the road is Cotton Valley. This is Cotton Valley, and what's on this side
From
is
here
Cotton Valley.
over to here?
Yeah.
What
So
is this?
This is Pony Club. So it's Pony Club,
This is part of Yellow Cliff, Holden County.
but only
So-
starting here and here.
So you have to,
This little corner is
Stop.
Cotton Valley.
really?
Yeah. So and this is 76.
What is this square right here?
That's Cotton Valley.
So that square right there is Cotton Valley, that's not our
Right.
association.
Although Cotton Valley Association's defunct, Cotton Valley still exists as a area.
But no, there's no
We've got
association.
Well, if it's only that big.
No,
It's
no,
only
and
that
it's
big,
all
that's
the
the only
stuff
part
going
that
down to the
encroaches.
beach and
Oh,
everything.
no kidding.
Yeah, this only encroaches
Well,
on
how
our
the
property.
hell,
Because
Did they
nobody
get-
wants to pay their fees, so they go defunct.
so how did they get like that parcel that's not connected
Who
to any
knows?
of
But
that?
It's how all these other guys who started out in the
Did
60s,
it?
how they subdivided.
Hmm.
And this was part of Cotton Valley Associates, which
Okay.
didn't become part of us.
Okay,
Now,
so this would still be our responsibility from here up to here?
yeah, but that's owned by the government. So the government owns, well, they actually own this too, but they own, as far as we're concerned, they own this. Down, see this line here?
Yeah,
This rectangle
Yeah.
in here? That's a parcel. Remember I was talking about matriculates and
original
parcels?
Yeah,
So all the roads in this square are owned by Paul Ramsden. Over on this side of it is owned by, I don't know who yet, we have a title search going on.
mhm.
And over on this side of the square is the government.
So this says Houghton Carton Hills. Where is
Yeah.
Yellow Cliff in relationship to Houghton Carton?
This side.
Because- Okay, that side is Yellow Cliff. Okay, and the rest of this is Houghton Carton. But all of these people that are in our association are out of our.
No.
No, okay, wait, let me explain. Okay. Now, you see that document with all the where is's and where as's?
Mhm.
Okay, I don't want to. Each one of these was responsible for different plots.
Okay.
And technically, we have to go to, okay, this is Yellow Cliff parcels 1 through 35. Okay?
Mhm.
Now, if you take out that document, the restrictions on that document apply to only that. Then we find here, this one, again, is 1 through 35, so that document also applies there. I'd have to look, oh, thermal acoustics. These guys were the ones who had this area over here.
Okay.
So that's another set of rules.
Another set of rules like,
Different covenants and restrictions.
okay. So why do we have only one covenant restriction then?
Because in 1997, Yellow Cliff Hope and Carton Association was formed,
Yeah.
and they said, is it in this one or was it in the old bylaws, that it was parcels, blah, 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 to blah, blah, blah. I'd have to go looking for it. But they specifically said what parcels were to be included.
Okay. And was that all of them?
No. It's what they just put down.
So
without noting what was really part of this, because now above here,
Yes,
there's
new
more that goes
construction.
up, and then it goes down on the other side of the hill. Okay? On the other side of the hill, it's still Yellow Cliff, but it's not a part of us. Because that's plot 1 and 2 over there. 1 is owned by Paul, by Mosler,
Okay.
and 2 is owned by the government. But that's on the other side. Now, on the other side, believe it or not, because here we go up to 31, then it goes 35, 36, 37, because 32, 33, and 34 are over on that side,
Mhm.
on the water.
Okay.
And 32 is a road plot on South Shore Road.
Hmm.
And it's a big company, it's some Japanese company, they're located in Manhattan, and they probably just get the bill and pay it. They've never questioned it. But they don't belong to us. So the lawyer said, just stop sending them a bill. Just stop. They won't even notice that you haven't sent it.
And they're definitely not a part of
They're
the,
not a part of us.
So were they ever included? Well, how did they get included?
Because one of these papers says plots 1 to 35. Yellow Cliff 1 to 35. So the association just saw the numbers and sent them bills. They didn't ever look to see if they were in here. When I looked at this map, I said, okay, there's 4. Where's 1, 2, and 3?
Right.
So I started looking. Now 3 is actually, see this whole thing here?
Yeah.
That's all parcel 3. So now here, we actually have Hope and Carton 31. It's not showing on that one. Do I have one that shows it? See, here's these matrices. Okay. So we have to look at it like this. Okay, so see, this was all matriculate 16. Not all of it, this was matriculate 12B. And then out of matriculate 16, it became 3. Now up here, this is 31. This is remnant 3, so what's remaining of the parcel.
Hmm.
And this is now 36 and 37, which I'm trying to determine if it's owned by Kevin Brandt, who used to own Tamarind Reef, or the new owners of Tamarind Reef. If it's owned by Kevin Brandt, we're just going to let it go, because these documents, he can afford lawyers up the gum.
Mhm.
He can run us out of business with lawyer fees. He's doing it in Grapetree right now. He just bought property there, he owns several properties, and he's fighting a couple of the fees because of these kind of documents that aren't specific that his parcel was included.
Well, that's not specific. It doesn't even list them there, does it?
But it's 36 and 37, but it's not listed, but it came out of a parcel that is listed. So it was subdivided out of a parcel that was listed, which makes it part of us.
Any record of that subdivision?
Yes,
Really?
yeah.
Well, then why, I know he can fight it.
Because he will keep it in court till we run out of money and never get it back. Is it worth that? No. But if it's the new guys, I don't think I'll have a problem. The worst thing is, we've never collected fees on it, we've never billed for it, we're no worse for the wear. We just have to make sure that if they don't build right here, they stick to residential 2 and residential 1. Because that's what it's zoned for. Now, here's something else you might know. You don't like the fact that you're residential 2? You go down to DP, wherever the zoning is done. You say, I want to become a this, and they go, okay.
Yeah, but you can't do that in
Yes,
our
you can.
association.
Yes, you
Association
can.
doesn't
Anybody
do that,
here
right?
can do that.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I remember reading, and I believe it was.
Yeah, you
the
can't do a
Articles of
business.
Incorporation.
But then there's some stuff in some of all these other things that says, yes, you can.
And what,
As long as you're not making noise and this and that, and putting pollutions in it. There some of them say it. Now, what the lawyer wants me to do now is take all of these whereases, read them, put down these plots have these restrictions, these plots have these, so that we can kind of meld it without going too far outside all the legal bounds. But what we're trying to do is take all of these documents and just make one concise document that satisfies all the regulations. That's what we're trying to do.
Wouldn't you have to abolish the other ones?
And we're trying to do that too. You can annul. So,
Or you have to have votes for everybody or majority?
no, what we have to do is come up with the solution, a good solution to it. And then get the people and say, yes, let's talk about this now. Because if you read the original articles of incorporation, tax and hold title to access roadways with and along the borders of, we don't own any roadways. Okay? And from Sierra Verde subdivision and the sewer lines, there's no sewer lines. And blah, blah, blah. To take and hold title to such park, oceanfront, and other, that's because these whereases, some of them were oceanfront. That was Cotton Valley. But they never said exempting from anything. They said, we're just going to... So this includes all those 7 papers, of which a lot of those plots aren't part of us. But yet we took on their regulations and their verbiage. But it doesn't apply to us. And these were drawn up by lawyers who should have known better. So what he benefited out of this, I don't know. Was it just lazy? I don't know.
Well,
But our lawyer says this goes on all over the island just because of stuff like this.
I don't think that these are adversary to the document themselves, because they don't require you to do anything. It's basically,
But-
if you have title to the road, you're to
But
hold it.
what I'm saying is the fact that it says we own roads is why this says we'll maintain them.
But we've been maintaining them the entire time.
Because nobody knew we didn't own them.
Well, here's the problem with that.
Yeah,
If individuals own the roads, individuals would have to take their roads away.
yeah, and the
If
government
they
won't
have
take them.
Well, not only that, but if Paul owns money on his mortgage because he had to buy all of those lots at the same time, he will not be able to give that away to anybody.
There's no mortgage on it.
Well, then he can give them away. But if anybody else has a
But
mortgage
you'd have
on
to
a
be
road-
stupid to take them. Because you get all the liability.
Yeah, but here's the other thing. If we're trying to give the roads to the government, have you driven through the rainforest?
Yeah, but, now here's another but. The recent bill that just got put through in the Senate is saying that all the money that we got for the roads from the FEMA and disaster relief is going to go to government roads. Now, the rainforest is slotted to be fixed because it was in that bill. We're not in that bill. And in order to get money from the government to work on the roads or have them work on the roads, a bill has to be passed by a senator. That's why we're trying to get everyone to sign those senator letters. So unless, because the money's there, but the bill has to allocate it to a certain job. So we've got to get a senator to write a bill saying that, yeah. And to get them to own the roads is a faster way to get them to fix the road. Unless we can do environmental, we're trying many different avenues.
What's the benefit of them owning the road?
Uh,
How wide are the roads?
well, what they are and what they're supposed to be are two different things.
Yeah, and it's gotta be that way, because when they platted this place, they have to have a road a certain width, probably double wide.
They're not the width they should be. They're all supposed to be at least 20.
Okay, that's what I
And they're
thought.
not.
So.
I have all the cadastral maps too.
So, what would be the reason why the government would take control of our roads?
Well, see, this is something else that I found out. And I found this out in deeds as well as from the lawyer and as well as from Department of Public Works. When the government owns a road, they'll deny it because they don't want to fix it.
Oh, that's
They
for
just
sure.
hide it, and they don't file the deeds. They have the deeds, but they don't file them. That's
That's
why
why
we're
I
having
don't-
trouble with 30.
That's why I don't think that you're gonna get them to accept any of our roads.
But in the meantime, we have to deal with what we have.
And we have been for
Yes,
60 years.
we have.
I mean, for 60
But
years, we've been
the
working on these
language,
roads.
now see, okay, getting back to what the original discussion started.
Okay.
The reason the verbiage stated is, we don't own the roads. So we don't want our articles to specifically say roads, so that if one day we are successful and don't own the roads. This says community benefits. To implement things, yes, the roads are community benefits, so now they're covered in a general statement. But it also allows us, if we finally get the government or the owners of the roads to take responsibility, then we can focus on some other things, security, lights, whatever
Well,
we want.
That would be very difficult to get somebody to do that after it's been being done by an association for 60 years. If you took that to court, you'd lose. Because if you've been taking care of roads for 60 years and you purposely changed the bylaws to kind of hide that you've been doing that,
No,
you'd
we're not
lose in
hiding
court.
it. We're just saying that we don't own them.
Okay.
And the language is in here that somebody else is supposed to do it. And according to don't forget, all the laws are totally different than other laws.
Oh, yeah, I know.
You know, so,
Yeah. I'm just saying that what you've been doing for a long time holds a lot of weight in a decision. You know what I mean? If you could get the city to take the roads over, that'd be great. I just don't think they would. And if they did,
but it's
they
worth
wouldn't
the
take care of
battle.
them.
It's worth the battle. And right now, I had to get, in order to do the cement work we did, on the lawyer's recommendation, I had Paul Ramsden send us an email saying, yes, you can work on the roads. Otherwise, he could have sued us and told us to take it all out. Which would be stupid, but
So essentially, you're saying we put concrete on roads that didn't belong to us, though.
exactly. One of them is a government road and one of them is Paul Ramsden's road. And you want to hear something that makes a lot of sense? I had heard that Liberty, now that they own well, they don't own the towers yet, but they have to have access to the towers. I heard like on St. Thomas in Puerto Rico, they were actually repairing the roads leading to the towers. So I said, okay, let me contact Liberty, because if they're going to do that to the road, we shouldn't work on it yet. Just do a minor something. So what I found out is, no, Liberty doesn't repair the roads there. They're just laying underground stuff, fiber optics going up to the towers. Okay. So I said, because they finally answered me when I said, we're laying cement. So we need to know, and we want you to know that during this period of time, if you have any maintenance to do it beforehand, because
Well, there's
you are-
plenty of room on the side of the road for
No,
them
there
to do that. Well, it looks like
Well,
there's
no,
3
if they have to go up to work on the tower, we didn't want them bringing up their equipment while we had wet cement.
Oh, I understand that.
Okay, so they said, oh, before you lay the cement, how about we give you 100 feet of fiber optics pipeline to put under there? You want us to put 100 feet of pipe under a 300-foot cement? How is that helping you? Oh, it isn't in our budget till April anyway. So in April,
Well, they can dig alongside the
they're
road.
gonna start laying the fiber optics in this area.
Well, there's plenty of room along the side. And if the road is 20 feet wide, they got plenty of room to...
Now see, these are all of those whereas documents.
Okay.
All of these, of which our president and vice president haven't read any of them. They just wait for me to tell them what's in them. And you can see a lot of them, you can't even read them. Okay, here, this one. So this was thermal acoustics, yes, which Don Schindler's a part of. So he may be the one who actually owns it at this point. Now see, this document will tell us that, okay, plot number 84 of subdivision parcel 62 Cotton Valley. So that plot isn't us. Plot number 16 consisting of plot number 21 and 23. Okay, these are yellow cliff. So this article applies only to these three and subdivisions. So this, these three plots have these rules and only those three plots. But in here, it identifies road plot number 30. And the continued use of this road easement shall be subject to the condition the grantee successor share the annual costs. So whoever owns it has never shared annual costs with us. So all of this stuff has to get straightened out in the best way that we, the association, and the lawyer can come up with. And this is a lot of work. Because we thought, okay, we'll make a committee, make the suggestions we want, and we just make a new law. No, you can't do that, because it's in our deeds that we go by these documents.
So here's the thing, the original bylaws were designed to fix the roads. That's what the purpose said it was. So if we're getting rid of that purpose.
We're not getting rid of it, we're just wording it more generally.
What they said was, once you fix all the roads, then why is charging fees
To maintain
Well,
it.
for
once-
maintaining it? You
If the
can't.
roads are not our responsibility, then why are we fixing them?
Because we have to get up to our homes. We have to get to our homes. So people are taking it into their own hands to do what they, like in Seven Flags. They don't have an association, but every year, one of them goes around and says, okay, I want to collect $1,000 from everybody so we can repair the potholes. And they do it.
Why are we raising the rates?
Well, the rates, first of all, haven't been raised since 1997,
Right.
okay? Things cost
Except for
more.
the past 2 years.
No, those
No,
are
there is-
special
like you said,
assessments.
there were special
Those are
assessments.
special
I
assessments.
know, but
That's just, and yet last year, were you at the meeting?
No.
Okay, Kathy Newman said, why are we having special assessments for the past 3 years? Why don't we just raise the rates? Which makes more sense, because nothing costs what it used to cost. What used to be $500 to cut bush is now $5,000. And just let me, because
Since 97, bush cutting is over 80%.
Mhm.
Since 97. His last quote for cutting bush alone was $27,000.
Who was
Just for
that?
doing the bush. Christian.
Christie? Christian.
So we stopped using him a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian found Schuster, and he was looking for less, but that was still $17,000 just for cutting the bush.
With a tractor and a bush hogger, is the guy with the tractor that has the, it's like a bush hog attached to it, the arm?
Yeah,
Okay.
but he doesn't have the grader. He doesn't have the center blade. You know, the center steer?
Yeah.
He doesn't have one of those. He was just doing it with a bobcat and with his tractor.
Oh.
Now, Christian didn't cut our bush here for 2 years because he said the road was too bad.
Hmm.
For 2 years, I was paying $300 a month to keep that clean.
Right. So, what, well,
But that's only my part. I mean, what he's doing with this and all the rest of it is,
let me ask you a question. Why doesn't the association buy a tool if it costs us $27,000 a year to cut bush?
who's doing it?
Anybody can do it. Having the association's
The
tool,
reliability for that would be horrendous.
we have insurance,
Insurance,
right?
well, yeah, but the liability on that would be horrendous.
Why?
It's like that's why I did fishing charters and not dive charters.
Mhm.
It's $5,000 a year for the fishing charter for insurance.
Mhm.
It was $20,000 for fishing with dive.
Well, I don't think that this guy mowing lawns is gonna be that big of a,
On the side of the bush? Yes.
yeah, I don't think
I
so.
don't know, but
But I know a guy in the West End who has a business for maintenance, lawn care, whatever. I don't know how big his equipment is or anything like that, but I'll talk to him, to see what he could, give you guys a,
7.5 miles of road.
okay, but, okay.
Yeah,
It's
and that's
7.5
so
miles
that's
road, but we don't
15
know.
miles of road.
Yeah,
Which
right.
on both sides.
Right.
And then you got to clean out the swales. So that's 7.5 miles of road one way, 7.5 miles of road the other way, and 7.5 miles of swales
Okay.
that they got to clear.
And the 7.5 miles is all of this, all of these roads right here that you see?
The roads within our community.
Okay. So it includes all of
And
this?
this is Yellow Cliff and not this.
Not that, they don't have
This.
to do anything with that?
No, we don't touch this.
Okay.
And
But
that's
we touch from here
FHA.
to here, right?
Yes. That's where
So,
Happy is and the rest of it. This is
so
all
really, it's not all of that, because this doesn't have any bush, it's mainly yards.
No, it doesn't. It has bush.
Yeah.
It's a lot of bush.
A lot of bush over there on the circle?
Look over
I
here.
thought they were mostly fucking,
No, look over here. Stop. Complain about getting access to their lots.
yeah, because it says,
It's right.
there was a dip here that says we don't maintain, not maintaining. I
Oh.
thought that was.
This is an old map.
Huh?
This is an old map. This thing. That's
Oh,
why it's all spread
okay,
out.
okay.
Right now, this here, they actually blocked it off when they did the concrete to stop people driving up that way.
Why? If it was the way around.
Actually, it was one way in, one way out. This now, you've got 2 ways in, 2 ways out. It's a circle.
Yeah, it is a
Right.
circle. I was just
So-
drove it the other day,
Right.
just to see, what
Now,
all the road is.
here, coming up this hill, you got basically 2 ways in, 2 ways out, the whole community.
Mhm.
They've got 2 ways in and out on this. As it comes out here.
Yeah,
it comes
yeah,
out.
yeah. Yeah, so if there's anything blocking here, they can go that way or
Yeah,
they can go
but
this way.
these people here all complain about not being able to get access to their property. So they
Well,
can't.
I can definitely,
I can understand.
agree with that.
Yeah. But is that used? No.
I know, it's a little bit of ruts there, but the grass is growing up in the center, you know, like it's not used very
I've driven
often.
it.
Yeah,
I've driven it in the Jeep and I've
it's
driven it
kind
in
of
the
cool.
truck.
It actually looks like you're driving in somebody's yard at the top.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, he's like.
It's like I'm going in somebody's yard. Because you can't tell, because there's a fence there and there's beautiful grass,
Right.
right? So you go through that and you're like, is this a road?
Yeah. It's weird. But when you got it, all this and all the different pieces and all that crap, and maintaining beach access.
Well, I understand that, but you know what those articles do? They allow us to buy other stuff too. You know, they allow you in those articles to acquire land and acquire property and things like that. So if the association was in a position to buy a plot or something like that and build a park or something that, you know, or a community pool or anything like that, they could do that by those articles. And if you bought, you know, properties as they go down to the water, you could essentially make it to the water and those articles would still protect you. But those articles are probably a combination of everything that was originally these guys that held those lots, you know? Some of them did have waterfront, like the ones over the hill. They had waterfront.
So this is starting in 2014 because that's all my records go back to, what I have, yeah. So now, this is actually what we paid for these different things. This is what we paid this year. And these are what we collected this year. Now, look at the difference just in what was collected, because I got a lot of people to pay their fees.
Right.
That's the only reason we were able to do what we did this year. But this is what we project. If we were to cut bush next year, these are the estimates we've been getting. These are the estimates we get for like a road grading, just a grading. Insurance, we must.
Is this from the same guy that was doing it then?
No, this is the average of several. The estimate,
Do
but
we
not
know
a lot
who
of
this
people are
was?
doing gradings, and they use different people over the years.
Do they actually have a grader?
No,
One of them did.
One of them did.
One of them had this on the
Yeah.
blade that
He
was.
screwed my road up, but
Yes.
I had to go fix
Because
it.
he did not do it.
Yeah.
That was
What
crazy.
he did is he tilted it the wrong direction and made the water pour down into my cottage.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
But I caught him the next year and said, hey, don't do that, and put the berm back. You know, because the gut is on the right side of the road. And he was trying to make it go to the left side, down onto.
So,
well,
anyway, these are our projected expenses for next year if we do any kind of minimal road work.
Why is legal 3,000 versus 365?
Because we are looking into getting all this stuff straightened out. And we already owe that, but we're paying it this year. So, now down here, these are our current fees. I based what we're gonna collect on who paid this year, okay? So we'll get $18,000.
Well, who paid it this year? You got a whole bunch back, right?
No, but those
No,
are
that was in
people that
arrears.
owed, that was owed
Yeah,
money.
but aren't they gonna pay now that they're caught up?
Yeah,
Okay, so is that,
that's
That's all.
included in here.
really?
This is the most money we're gonna get, because what we're not gonna get are from the dead people and from the people who have never paid and don't answer their phone.
How
Okay?
many of those?
I'll go over that
It
with you,
wasn't
and
very many, right?
I'll go over that with you in a minute.
Okay.
Okay? So that's the minimum money we can get. If we ask this, which is what we're proposing, we'll get just enough to do the minimal work this year. And it's less than 10, if you're paying $500, it's less than $10 a week. And it's still among the lowest fees on the island for an association. It just hasn't been done in 25 years. And it's a ridiculous amount of time not to have a fee increase. Now, here, okay, I'd rather not have you look at me. Okay, these are new owners for this year.
Are these all the new constructions? or-
Some of them, yeah. Okay, so those are all new
Does
people.
H stand for Hook Property?
Yeah, boys are just,
Stop.
okay? Deceased, there are 17 lots, 14 owners. Somebody had multiple, okay? 3 are gonna be uncollectible. Right now, I've managed to find relatives who are either starting to pay, figuring out how to pay, or who have paid.
You're just finding out they have one lot on the island? You mean Grandpa had a lot?
Yeah,
That's funny.
either that or,
Well,
no, it's not that
was
they
it-
didn't know. It's not that they didn't know, it's that they have a different address, so the mail never got to them.
Okay, well, that's
That's why on
understandable.
on the contact form I have now, it says emergency number.
Mhm.
So if something happens to you, who can I call?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, hey, I'm not so much after the money as a lot of these people know. I'm just telling you, you own a piece of property. You got some money here. Put it up for sale. Do something.
Yeah, make somebody else
Yeah.
happy. If you're
So-
never gonna come here, why would you pay the dues?
Right. So a lot of people have been very grateful for what I've been doing for them. We found one. Okay, get a load of this story. Okay, Arnold owned this property back in the 60s. Sold it to Eric, who lives in Illinois, in 74. Eric's been paying taxes on it and has the records since 74. But in 76, it got sold for tax delinquency. Got auctioned off
Wow.
to these 3 guys who 2 months later sold it back to the original Arnold. But Arnold filed the deed, but taxes was never notified that Arnold should get the taxes now. So Eric in Illinois, since 1974, has been paying taxes on it. So when he passed, I finally got a hold of Eric Jr. at a different address and different phone numbers, like tracking down through People Finder. And he said, I was wondering what's going on with this because I keep paying the taxes. The taxes were fully paid. He just didn't know about association fees. So I told him, don't worry about the association fees because in the meantime, I had Kelly Oosley, who's a realtor, call me and say, do you know who owns this property because somebody wants to buy it? So I told
Who's that
Eric,
connected?
Eric is talking with our lawyer who understands all this that's going on. And he's getting the property, the deed put in Eric's name because he's been paying all the taxes, and Arnold's dead, so he's not gonna fight it.
Oh, no shit. Oh, okay, I was about
And
to
in
say.
the
you're gonna run
meantime,
into a
I went
roadblock
to
along it.
taxes and I said, you know, you're sending taxes to the wrong person. And they go, no, we're not. I said, yes, you are. They go, we have no record of him. So this is the kind
Wow,
of
that's
stuff
scary.
that I've been able to kind of put people together with.
So,
So anyway, look at this.
but what about Arnold's heirs? Arnold's heirs could fight that, right?
Well, they know about it.
They do know about it?
I don't know.
Oh. I mean, well, I guess they just.
But they
noticed it.
have, but the fact that for 25
Yeah, I
years,
would
taxes
imagine.
are being paid by someone else. And,
Oh.
you know, so
That's nuts.
anyway, that's legal business, right? That's for the lawyers,
Whatever the lawyers can do, they can do.
That's it.
okay? So now in black, these are the ones that are deceased that are, I'm in contact with and we're working out payments, okay? Okay?
Yeah.
Diane Chandler just passed. We're trying to find out who has her estate. She never paid taxes, she never paid fees since the
That name sounds
60s.
familiar.
She owned
Goldsmith.
Gold Workers.
Oh,
Okay. Okay.
She was a player in the neighborhood. 86, this guy's dead. I have a relative up in the Midwest somewhere who accepted the certified mail but never contacted me.
Mhm.
So that can go up for auction as far as I'm concerned, okay?
Oh, the old people.
Now, the people we have liens on that have never ever paid, 7 lots, $21,000. We're looking to file judgments on them so we can collect.
Mhm.
And that's $700. So
Are they off island?
some not.
Only $700 each year for 7 lots?
yeah, it's a
They're,
double
they're
bill.
lots, they're
That's
$100 a lot.
Okay, gotcha. So,
And we have 23 liens, 7 will be looking into judgment, 7 are uncollectible, 9 are making payments, or in the process of at least speaking with me. So that's where I stand as the treasurer in trying to get all our money.
okay.
So, and that's to answer that question, why we have so many more lots and stuff, this is who is actively paying, or has actively paid this year.
Okay. 54 and 52 is the number where I got 106, I think.
So,
But you say there's actually 147.
status and community, that's not this one, I have another sheet. We have, and I believe I corrected this, it's 146 plots, 122 owners. Out of which, I'm very happy to say that we have, okay, not owners, but we have 120 plots that are in good standing this year, which is amazing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It is.
considering.
How many plots are the semi-improved?
Semi-improved?
Well-
Right now, we don't have a semi-improved.
But I
There's
know
nothing that
you're-
says that, we're including that
Yeah,
into the
you're
new.
trying to add that.
Semi-improved, right now, we have one, the tennis court, Frables.
Okay.
But, because not too many people have adjacent lands, but this is like the Newmans, they have 3 lots and 1 lot with a home on it.
Mm-hmm.
So what if they want to put a
Newman being
pool on
Todd?
it? Yeah,
Okay.
and, you know, it's just like,
Does Todd come to the meetings?
no, Kathy does.
Oh.
Yeah, but we made ourselves legal as far as trademarks and corporations, because we
Yeah.
never had an EIN number. Somebody used their EIN number,
Really?
but now we have an association EIN. There was a lot,
That was
Yeah.
Got a lot of
Yeah.
shady stuff going on.
yeah,
That was dumb.
And the restrictions and covenants were valid for 75 years.
There were what?
only one of them.
The restriction and covenants
Yeah.
was valid for 75 years and it stayed.
Oh, right, yeah, it was, but
Only one
it
of
could be, that's the restriction and covenants that you have listed though. You don't have
That's
all of them listed on the website, you just have that one for our association.
Yeah, that's the one Brian put up there.
Oh, Well,
And because it's the only one that had concisive, And he was unaware of all the other ones. He was totally unaware of them.
Well,
Because you know what, too? People take what the old board gave them, assuming it was good. I didn't.
Well,
what's right?
the old president
Yeah.
was doing treasurer as well. Kent,
Was what?
he was doing treasurer as well as president.
How the fuck is that?
So between him and Brian, they're carte blanche over everything.
I had to
do that.
redo.
Well, they did.
And in, okay, it was 21, in 2019, all the expenses were listed as negative deposits. So I have to go back in QuickBooks and fix all that.
That was another thing that was I was wondering about. Now, you know, you have all of these. How do you have a negative when you have only one income? Okay, when you have only one income and that is coming from the dues, right? How do you owe $5,656?
They pick it up on the next year, or they had it from a previous year, but during this year,
So where is that represented in a cost over here, though?
all I'm showing you here are the past P&Ls.
Yes.
I can't talk to it because I wasn't there.
This is when Nancy Ford was doing it.
No, it wasn't.
See, this is
Nancy only did it in these, she only did it for a couple of years.
like see when you what I'm trying to say
Yeah.
is like, how do you come up with $20,000 at the end of that year or during that year? Because this is during a year. So how do you come up with $20,000 that you never had to pay a bill? Right? So there's no way to do that. So you could not have a negative 20,352 because you never even had close to that much money to put out a liability for that much. Right? So if I didn't have the money, who's going to, how can I pay 40 grand if I don't even have 40 grand?
Because we did with special assessments.
But that's
But
recorded
if you did
here
a
as
special
fees
assessments,
collected.
you wouldn't have,
That's part
you'd
of
have
the
a
fees
zero
collected.
here. There's, the way I see it is you could only have a zero or a positive here because you can't borrow money from the association can't borrow money.
No, we don't borrow money.
So
But
having
I'll
here-
tell you one thing, in going back and looking at what I can look at, because a lot of stuff isn't there. What I can look at in QuickBooks is if you look at the beginning balance at a year and the end balance, it's all there.
being that it's
All
these
the
numbers.
expenses are,
Mhm.
because,
But how can
okay,
you have a negative when you didn't have the money?
it all works somehow, I don't know.
I mean,
I said
if
same
you,
thing, I'm
if you
just
had
reporting.
$10,000 and, but you had to spend 20
I know,
and you don't have 20,
I
you
know.
can't spend the other 10. But you show it here in the sense that these people were spending money that they never had, okay? And then it gets over here and it's like spending 20 grand that you never had. The,
It's
articles
kinda
of incorporation
the
say that
most-
you can only be in debt, have a liability of maximum of $5,000.
the best guess I can tell you in looking at what I looked at is that they took Peter to pay Paul from themselves. Like when I took over this year, like the 21 is kind of screwed up because in January, we had $30,000, okay?
From what? Because you had a
From
negative 16.
from last year, there was 30,000, there was 30,000 there.
Yeah, but why is it
Listen. Because the expenses for the roads, the checks written and everything, were from the previous year, but weren't cashed till January. So that 30,000 that appeared at the beginning of January was gone at the end of January.
Okay. But.
So that's
and that
what
brought
some of
to a
that is.
negative.
But
So
that's
you
what's
have-
going on here. It's money that was, expenses from one year got paid in the next year. And that's why some of this looks screwed up. Which is one of the reasons I had it fit when I found that receipt for December that Brian had.
But you see how I can see that this, if this was a positive of the previous year, it needs to be entered into 2019 as an asset. And it's not entered as an asset.
This is not an asset sheet. This is
Yeah, but
just a P&L sheet.
But profit and loss includes that
Yes,
asset.
but it's not showing the previous year, it's only showing what we took in, what we spent. It's not saying what was in the bank. It's not showing you what was in the bank, it's just saying what we took in and what we spent. You understand what I just said?
Yeah, but it
It's not
doesn't-
showing the bank account.
But the problem is it doesn't take into the account what happened to these. All of these
What I'm
numbers
saying is
down
the
here.
money may have been in the bank.
See, this to me is what would be in the bank right now.
Yes and no, because it's fluctuated a little bit since I wrote this.
Because,
And once I pay this $3,000, that'll be down to 8.
yeah, and any time that you,
But one of the things I tried to do was make sure all our expenses for this year were paid in December. I didn't want to
Yeah,
have to pay
and a lot
last
of
year's.
businesses do
That's
that.
why when Brian gave me your
you want
bill,
the tax,
I flipped. Because you didn't have any right to do this. I would have said, let's wait until after the meeting, or why didn't you do this in March when you first approached him? Why is it now? And we spent all that money. I figured the money that we agreed to spend was already done. It's like, oh no. And then he pulls out this work order sheet. And I says, yeah, but it says you will have a sheet that says accepted by him, and you have that sheet? You never gave it to me. He says, no, I never got it. I said, well, then it's moot. You didn't do what you're supposed to do.
And then he looked
So-
back and saw what figures he'd spent anyway, and he didn't realise how much he spent.
So anyway,
Who
that's
spent
all.
Vice President.
how can he spend anything?
No. We
Sitting
spent.
with the roads.
He
Okay,
didn't realize how much of that dedicated money had already been spent. Because he didn't keep track of it.
and so he spent more than what was supposed to be dedicated?
Allotted, yeah.
Mhm.
Isn't all of these expenditures supposed to be voted on by the board?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have all the
And so
minutes.
how can he override anything that's
Because-
been,
And I'm not saying this in a nasty way, okay? Brian seems to have some memory problems. And, for instance, and over again, like, Brian, did you call Marshall and Sterling yet? No, I thought you were doing that. No, you want to see the minutes from last month? So, okay, Brian, this month you'll call Marshall and Sterling. So next month meeting, Mark, did you call Marshall and Sterling? No, weren't you going to do that? No, Brian, you're supposed to. And I show him the minute for the past 2 months. Now we're in the 3rd month, and it's the same thing. So there's a bit of a memory issue going on. And I have to, dealing with people who get older, my mom, I understand that, but if that's the
How
case,
old is
write
Brian?
yourself. He's,
I guess it doesn't
I
matter.
don't think he's
because
that old.
That should happen
But,
to anybody.
yeah. And you know what? If you understand you have that, and I have things written down, so yeah, there's a record of at least this one thing going on, start making yourself notes. So I
He's
start,
the guy that puts the stuff on, who does the website?
nobody
Yeah.
anymore.
Nobody anymore.
No, and we're
So
gonna
that's
get rid
why
of
we
that
don't see
website. The
anything
website,
updated
we're
on
gonna
there. I
get
don't
a
see
new
any minutes or
website,
anything.
because that one, when Rick left as president, he kinda left everything. And that one almost requires you to understand programming to update it. So we're getting rid of that, because nobody can take it over. We're gonna go to something like Wix, very user-friendly.
All right. Because we were trying to look up,
You can't look up anything on
I
it.
know. There's nothing
You will
there.
be on the new
You started
one.
saying minutes and minutes and minutes, I'm like, where are the minutes?
But see, now this is something that the new board will have to decide too. Hopefully there'll be a new board. They think that all our board meetings should be private. I'm kind of like, the community deserves to know.
Absolutely, the community should be involved in every board meeting. I think, personally.
Well, no,
People
you
just call
can't
it.
have that many people.
It's not that many.
Yeah, it
How many
is.
show up?
I don't know, but that means you can't have it at your home, you can't this, you
Oh, no,
can't
you just
that.
have it at that
No,
thing
we-
down there.
The board meetings
No,
are
you
at
can't.
somebody's house.
No,
Huh?
you can't.
We have the board meetings at somebody's house.
Oh, okay.
But also, like you noticed in the bylaws, we changed the fact that the time and the place of the annual meeting.
Yeah.
Reason being, it's winter. It gets dark fast. Nobody wants to discuss anything because they don't want to stand around and leave.
Yeah.
So we said, and some people complain they can't go because it's a weekday. Some people complain because it's 5:30, they don't get out of work until 6. We have a lot of different issues going on. So we said, okay, let's just leave it. Right now, Castaways, Marnie and Jesse, they own here, they're owners now. They can change when the restaurant closes any day they want, but right now it's Monday and Tuesday they're not open. So next year, whatever day they're not open, they said we can use the restaurant to meet. We'll have light, we'll have tables, they may make a couple pizzas for us, we'll be more comfortable.
Sure.
We
That's a
can
good
sit
idea.
and discuss stuff.
Well-
But can we do that without changing the bylaws? No.
Well, you can.
No, I can't.
Why?
Because it says specifically, the third Thursday of January at the shanty at 5:30.
Oh, well, but yes, it does have a location, but it also gives you an out on that. Well, it doesn't say at the shanty. It says, shall be held in St. Croix on the fourth Thursday of January, or such place and time as may be designated by the Board of Directors. Secretary shall notify the members, off-island members in writing, of the place and time of the meeting. So it can be anywhere you want it to be, and not even on that Thursday.
Somewhere it
And the
actually,
reason why is because it never says shanty in here, in the bylaws. But it, and also in the Articles of Incorporation, it says it's the fourth Thursday in March.
I
every
know.
year, in the Articles of Incorporation. So
I know.
somewhere along the way it got changed.
Yeah.
And so March actually probably would have been better, because I think you have a lot of people missing, us in particular, because we always go back to the States for holidays. We
I would
changed
like
it-
to actually
we
see
changed
it,
this
I
year.
would like to see it like in November or December,
or-
because then we'd be ready for the new year. The reason I
True.
haven't sent out fees this year is because I know that we're trying to change the fees and I don't want to do it twice.
Right.
Oh, the reason I send out individual emails, people complained about me doing a blind.
But they can't.
They
They
can't.
don't know.
Yes, they do.
How?
They don't know each other, but it says blind. You can see that it was sent to multiple people and they don't want to be a part of that. That's,
You know-
excuse me, that's one reason. The second reason is, in order for me to know that the members have actually gotten their email, because I've had situations where I haven't had a response from a couple people on their emails, I don't know if it's a good email. Didn't get kicked by Mail a Demon, but I don't know if it's an email they use anymore. I have a couple of those myself.
Mm-hmm.
So what I got was Mail Tracker. Mail Tracker tells me, Doug opened it at this time on that date, he read it 3 times, he forwarded it to so many. I know you got it.
Mm-hmm.
If I do it as a mass mailing, all of that comes back like this every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, I did that one, I did that one, I did that one. If I send it out individually, yours comes back individually, his comes back individually. I can keep track of it.
But it takes you a long time. But couldn't you
It does, but
do other
but the
emails
stress,
that way?
and you want to know something, Google doesn't let you to set up a blind thing that you can just click on it every time. You have to set up the blind each time individually.
Okay, when you go to do a reply or something of that nature,
Then I know you can do single. I know you can do reply or reply all, but it's just, it turned out to be a lot. It's more time consuming, but keeping things straight, which is especially this year, and with the bylaws and everything, keeping things straight was more important to me than sending it out in one click. Because what came back to me as replies was so confusing in a blind. So confusing.
how come didn't it have the recipient's email address?
Well, it's through Mail Tracker.
Okay.
Yes, it did. But with Mail Tracker, it gave me 5 today. It gives me 20 tomorrow with the original 5. It gives me 30 the next day with the original 20 and the original 5. So every day I have to sort out, what did I already see?
Oh, that's
What
kinda
did
weird.
Yes. So that took more time than sitting and doing it individually to begin with. And what I've done is every time I have contact with a member, I created files for every member and all correspondence goes in there. And a couple times we had one over here, and she's never paid. We have a lien on her, and she says, well, I'm going to take you to court. I said, okay. I had like 50 emails and statements and everything. I said, this is what I have to bring to court. Show me what you have. And she ran over here and gave me $100. But
So, are all of these changes, you changed every one of there's 27 changes in this thing,
well,
whereas
they're
there's been
mild.
4.
They're just reworded, some of them. They haven't really changed. They're just reworded.
Well, they are changed in a sense because you took out protective restrictions completely. So this one here, now nowhere in the document, you didn't put
Yes,
one to
because
replace
this
that.
is still in the articles. So it doesn't, see that actually didn't even belong there. That's in the articles. So it doesn't have to be in the bylaws.
Okay. But the bylaws tell what we do. And this says we discuss and implement matters of common interest, which, is kind of what you wrote there, implement and maintain areas of matter of common interest.
Yes.
But you didn't mention the protective restrictions, is it?
Because this only applies to certain plots. It doesn't apply to all of us.
Okay. Because there's other protective restrictions of
Mhm.
other properties?
So, and this is some of the things that and since it is mentioned already in the articles and the other covenants, it shouldn't be in the bylaws.
Okay. So why are you changing the semi-improved if there's only one lot? Does it
For
matter?
future.
Because it was so ambiguous on what it was and what it was, an improved lot, what's a lot, what's a dwelling.
An
You're
improved,
trying to isolate it from being, right, if you have a dwelling
Okay,
lot.
wait. It first came up because the original papers used the word improve. So
the articles did.
and I think it's in the bylaws too. But what's improved? Nobody ever defined it. What constitutes you are now improved? You just jumped from, and since houses and improved had the same fee as treasurer, I said that doesn't make any sense to me. What does improved mean? So they say, oh, improved means when you first excavate or you first put contract or you have a permanent structure. Well, a tennis court's a permanent structure, so isn't that now improved? No. Yeah, it is. That's an improved property. Taxes went up because of it. Tell me it's not improved. Well, no, improved means a house. So then why do you have a category called improved if you also have a category called houses?
I've never seen that though. I've never seen the improved and houses separate or used in the same.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it will be in the next one unless we get the semi-improved, and then I'll make houses semi-improved. I'll reword it so it meets the bylaws. But I'm telling you, these are things that just jumped out at me and said this doesn't make sense. If you're going to use the word improved, say what improved means. If you're going to say house, say when does it become a house? When you start building or after you finish building?
So if you have
So
two lots,
this is,
I think improved should be when you get occupancy permit. That's when it's improved, because it's not a home until you can move into it. It's not a home.
yeah, but
okay, so now what's the difference between improved and house?
There is no, I've never seen anything that said, distinction, that.
Ernesto's getting improved.
Yes,
he
it's
was listed
getting
as
improved, but it's not.
No, he's listed as improved. He was paying improved prices, so he was paying the same
Is he
thing as a
living
house.
there?
No, but he was paying the same thing as if he was.
He shouldn't have been.
Well, that's the way it was.
But I don't believe that that's the way it should be, because whenever you're dealing with real estate, you don't even have a house until you can move into it.
But see that
Occupancy
now,
permit is when that takes place. So you can have a house under construction for 5 years, and it's never been an improved lot, because you can't actually use the improvement that you're putting on it. So the improvement should only be counted when you can use it, right? The tennis courts can be used. The house that you can live in, you can be used, but unless it has an occupancy permit.
Okay, now here's
It's not
the way,
usable.
here's the way it's been coming down the pike all these years. The reason they started calling it improved/house as the same fee is because while you're working on it, all the heavy equipment's coming up the roads, damaging the roads, and that needs to be paid for. That's where that came in.
Now,
These are the arguments. I'm not saying
Increase
I'm
in
for, I'm
traffic.
not saying I'm against. I'm just saying what the arguments are for. And our fees right now are really almost all dedicated for roads. That kind of makes sense.
I don't know, because that's kind of a process of
And then,
development, and we're still in development.
and then if that's
You
your
know, to
argument,
charge
if that's
people.
your argument, and you have a guest house on your property, didn't you just double the amount of cars coming up to your property? So shouldn't that even be more?
No, it shouldn't.
No,
The reason
well,
why,
it's
because that was
not.
in the Articles of Incorporation.
Right.
What you could have.
So, right now, we're trying to clean up just a little bit of what we can,
Mhm.
without disturbing the balance too much.
Like,
Because-
if you have two properties, one's got a house in it, and you decide on your vacant lot to put a garage,
Yeah.
right, if you put a garage on there, and just the garage, that's a semi-improved lot. If you let somebody live in that on that plot, that's a dwelling.
Yeah, I agree.
Right, so that was why they did the distinction that way.
I
So
agree
that it
with
can
that.
only be used as a semi-improved plot for non-dwelling income purposes. You can't
Well, I
have any
never-
dwelling with it.
I never saw anything mentioned in the articles about that.
Well, there isn't.
Right.
That's why
About
we're trying
what?
to define
But
it.
you're trying to define that a semi-improved lot, which I don't disagree with distinguishing a semi-improved lot. But the word improved is real estate that can be lived in. That's
No.
where
No,
that.
no.
Improved is clear.
That's an assumed definition.
Improved is clear.
Cleared.
It's a clear
No,
lot.
no. Improved meant nothing because it was never defined in our document. Period.
Right.
It's an undefined word legally in our documents.
Improved.
Improved. Nobody ever said what improved was, so improved literally had no meaning for us.
But it does
To some people,
legalese-
but you know what it means to, legally
all
is where?
improved land.
Legally is
all
where?
improved
But
property.
see, this isn't legal for taxes or the government or anything. This is legal words for the association. So improved in real estate terms doesn't necessarily mean improved as to what you're gonna pay in a fee.
But everybody's known that forever.
No, I didn't.
60 years.
No, I wouldn't.
60
to me,
years, you knew if it had a
improved-
house on it, it was an improved lot. And if it didn't, because they've been charging $200 for a house, right?
To me, improved is, hey, you put a tennis court up. Hey, you put a pool in. Hey.
But that's not really.
Yeah, because
And-
now you
and-
know what? That property cannot now be sold as a lot for a house.
Why?
Got a pool in the middle of the property.
You can take it, you can demo it.
Well, then it goes from being semi-improved to now a house.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
but now,
increases.
but it's semi-improved right now.
But it's not, that's, semi-improved is a term that you've inserted, okay?
Because we couldn't define the word improved.
Yes, you can.
Not to make, see, not, if you want to call construction and a live-in house the same
No.
thing, that's what they were doing, and that's what I tried to do, get them to separate that somehow.
Well, the only way that you do
So
that
now
is say
what
it's
we
either a
have,
house
now what
or
we
it's not
have
a
is,
house.
now,
Yeah.
instead of saying lot, we had two categories, lot, improved houses. They were one category. So now we have three different categories.
I know.
Unimproved, which is your lot, semi-improved, you've started some construction, and you're in a dwelling.
And see, I kind of, that's just me disagreeing with that, because I think it's very simple to have unimproved and improved, instead of putting this new category in here, which is gonna require,
It's not
a
gonna
watchdog
come up
type
that
thing.
much, it's not gonna come up that much.
it comes up every time somebody strikes a grader on the lot, because As soon as they grade the lot and put a piece of rebar there, it's a semi-improved.
No, that's gonna be improved if you're building a house.
Before they even get the house on there.
Yeah, because you're wrecking the roads.
Yep.
I don't agree with that, and I'll tell you why.
Did you see the damage done on, right outside, Pemberton's home, the little home down there?
But see, everybody had to have that at some point, and everybody is going to have construction. To penalize an owner of a lot by charging them that money before their house is even built, just because they're building it, but it's not really penalized. It's
But
only
you know
1
what?
year. I mean, I don't know how long it takes some of these people to build their houses.
Let's put it that way.
I mean, it's taking
Nobody's
that guy
ever
a while.
complained about it in the past. So, it's not opening, you know,
But you're adding something that was never there. Why? For one lot?
so people, no, not for the one lot, for people don't take advantage of it, like the combining of lots and stuff like that.
But I mean, you
And
have,
this was actually a suggestion from the lawyer to have that middle category.
and you have one lot.
Mhm.
You can have your house and your guest house on the one lot. You only pay for one lot.
Right.
But you got two properties.
No,
You've
actually,
only
I have
got one
one
lot, but
property.
you got two.
I got two
physical
dwellings, but I
You
have
got two
one
dwellings
property.
on one lot. You only pay for one lot.
But that's only considered one property.
Yeah. So it's only considered one, classic one.
But you know what?
Yes.
Right?
See, this is something we can all sit and argue about forever, because there's always another if. There's always another if to consider.
Right.
And what the lawyer tried to do was take all the ifs that could possibly and make three general statements. You're going to fit into one of these. He has looked at this and says, I've dealt with this kind of mess so many times because things have never gotten changed as time went by. And these from the 60s who say this is good for 75 years made sure it was going to be a mess. Because they were businessmen, now we're homeowners. They were selling property. It's sold. They're out. They're gone. And we're left with what they said should be.
Right.
And they weren't considering homeowners. They were considering business people. Their restrictions were made for business people.
No, no, not the, it doesn't say business.
You have to read through all of them to understand
Well, I
what
didn't
they're
read through
saying.
all of them because I don't
Yeah.
have them. I only have the one, covenant. You know, maybe those should all be out there or whatever. I don't know.
Do you know what kind of can of worms that would open? Well, I'm not a member of your association. Why am I paying you?
But are they?
We don't know.
Well, then that's dangerous, but it's
But-
also the truth.
But it's been since 1979. Nobody's ever complained, and it's in our deeds.
Because they don't have the information.
But we're going back to 79. We can't do anything about what happened in 79. All we can do
You
is
don't
move
have
forward.
to.
Now, do you want to say, okay, let's dissolve the whole thing? Because that's what will happen.
Well, here's the thing. If the whole thing is not been properly done, you have to start with what it is, you know?
Yeah.
Instead of kind of
And that's what we're
shadowing
trying to
some
do right
documents and saying, well, you know, this is what the new one is, this was yours, but you've never seen it before. I think everybody should know what their restrictions are, right? What their covenants
now.
are.
Well, if you can figure it out,
Cost of a mess.
Yeah, but you're saying
because
that,
right now we're a combination of all of them.
okay,
And they contradict each other.
okay.
And they talk about servants' quarters. And
Yes, they do,
talk about
because
stuff that has
in
nothing to do
61,
with
but
us.
that's what my house was kind of like, is servants' quarters, I guess, you know? And when it was made, I don't know, it was built in 84. So, you know, what they allowed you to do is build a cottage. That's what they allowed you to do in those articles. And I think that was the covenant.
And some of these say that you can't have containers on your property, and some of them say you can have a container, but you can't live in it. Other ones say you can have a container, a wash line, a garbage area, but you have to have it so it's not shown by the road.
And so how do you take that particular type of thing where some of them say you can't, some of them say you can, but they're already existing and they've been existing for a long time. Do you say you have to remove it? Do you grandfather
Well,
it
that's
in?
once
What do you do?
we understand, this is, again, my sitting with the lawyer for a long time, is to save money, I will go through all of them, list each, which ones say which plots, what are the things. These plots don't even have one, these do, these ones have 3 different things attached to them, which is gonna be a lot of work. And then we say, okay, let's come up with the easiest, not the most strict, but probably the most lenient thing. And say, let's take this to an annual meeting, let's send this out to the members, let them make comments, let's bring it back again. It's going to take a long time before we get this straightened out. But to tell them, you may not be a member, let them figure it out themselves. Because otherwise you're going to have a revolution and we're not going to have anything.
And that was the
We
one.
won't even be a community
And
anymore.
that was the attorney that said that.
He said, well, we won't be a community anymore.
Well, you want to be a community that is supposed to be a community. If it's not, then it's not.
So what we're
Right.
trying to do right now is turn it that way.
I know, but you should do that out in the open, you know, and let everybody know.
We will bring
and
it
then
out
if they didn't
into
want
the
to be,
open
they didn't
when
want to
we
be, and their
know.
road won't be taken.
But you know
care of.
what? Until we know what is, we can't tell them. Because people aren't going to do what I'm doing this year and read through every bit of it and do their research. So we've got to make sure we have the complete research before we show it to
Well,
them.
should you make that complete research before you do a gigantic change to the bylaws?
No,
Why?
because some of that stuff, like where and when we have to have meetings, none of this is, except for the fees, none of this is that bad. Nothing should be something that's not acceptable to anybody.
But it brings it to one document instead of 7. And actually that 7 was the 21.
That didn't make any sense.
Well, the 7 documents in your bylaws. and then
That's
you got
not the bylaws. The bylaws, there were no bylaws until 1979 that are on record.
Okay,
They
so,
were restrictions, they were covenants,
Alright.
they weren't bylaws.
but you've changed some of the.
Like, show me what you're,
Okay, so your special meetings, if you're charging for USPS now, I kind of feel like that should be a cost of business. I think that association being a company, a corporation, it's like if I charged my customers for me mailing them a bill.
different.
You know what I mean?
Different. Let me explain why. Every penny that comes into us, I'm trying to get into the roads.
Mhm.
So if I have to spend $500 or more a year in mailing, which is what we were doing, that's $500 could have gone into the roads. When you have a free email. Secondly, with emails, people don't change their emails as much as they do their addresses.
Mhm.
You can access your email no matter where you are in the world.
But I get hundreds of
I
emails.
have, okay, that's you. But,
I may miss it.
okay, but you can also, like Kathy didn't want me to have her email. I said, but for free, you can create an email just for us. And you
Mhm.
know, when that dings, you look at that one.
Mhm.
So I don't have to have your personal one. And now she's very happy. She gave me a personal one. Nobody else has it, just me. Also, there's people who move around during the year who, even if you have your mail forwarded, it only gets forwarded for 6 months. And then my fee comes after that 6 months and you don't see it. The letter gets returned to me. I don't know where you are, and now I haven't collected from you because this is your yearly habit. So email is a much more secure way, free way, immediate way of me getting to you.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But you also have
And you know what?
no tech
Nobody's
people.
complained about it yet.
Nobody's
Not one
complained
person
about
has
charging
complained about it.
money?
Nope.
Not even the people that are, but the people that are
And
getting
I have
charged
to,
that probably don't live here.
I now have to, I had to buy a printer. I had to buy ink. I had to buy paper.
Mhm.
I've got to buy stamps. It
But you're a
costs.
corporation.
No, we're not. We're not a
Art-
corporation. We're not
Articles
a
of
profit-making business. We're not a corporate. We're
You're a nonprofit, but that's still an article of incorporation, means you're incorporated.
we're here to collect your money to put into the community,
Yeah.
not to contact you over and over and over again.
No, that's a
Because you
duty
know
of
what?
the
No, it's not.
board.
No,
Absolutely
it's
it
not.
is.
No, it's not. I'm the only person as treasurer who followed up on a return mail, who gave a 30-day notice, a 60-day notice, filed a lien against you.
Yeah.
And that cost, we spent $1,300 in mail this year.
Mhm.
$1,300.
Yeah.
I didn't have to do that.
But you also netted 105,000 for doing that.
But nobody else did that before.
But that's what I'm saying. The cost of doing business, the
But it
cost that you
doesn't,
get.
but see,
and
it doesn't have to be a cost.
But look,
It doesn't have to be a cost.
USPS fees has never been there. Never been there.
Because nobody ever did it.
I know.
And no
But-
fees got
But
paid.
you gotta understand that when you did that, you netted $105,000 from it, which is a huge return on the small investment. Huge return.
But
Okay?
you know what? Right now, out of the 120, whatever, how many owners we have, I've only got 15 that are going out by mail.
Then why is it such a big deal? If there's only 15, because you have people in all
Because it
different age
was
groups.
100.
But you have people.
And
in
until I
all
put it in
different
the
age
annual
groups.
letter last year that I was going to charge you, they were just as happy getting the mail.
Mhm.
Now they understand, yeah, this is a better way. So you know what? It's going to be in there, but it's only affecting a handful of people because they want to be stubborn.
Well, stubborn or they're no tech. My
If
brother
they're
would
no
always say
tech,
there's
if they're no tech,
low tech, and no tech.
if there's no tech, I don't charge them.
Well, how do you know that?
There's ways of finding
But
out.
see, that's unfair.
No, it's not.
It is unfair.
It's not unfair.
It's
I'm
unfair
saving
for
the
anybody.
association's money to be used for the association.
They are the association. The association is
fee-
every member.
Their fees are meant to go for improvements, to maintain, for community benefit. My mailing you 5 letters is not community benefit. Again, this is
Notifications.
semantics.
I know,
yeah.
but that's just my feeling about it, is notifications is part of doing business. And that's just why I brought it up. But
But you're thinking of it as a business. We're not a business.
you absolutely are.
Maybe in a legal term, but we're not
absolutely.
we're not profit. We're not
A
making money.
non-profit business is a non-profit business.
Except
It's-
look at the category we're in.
What?
We're not Red Cross.
No, I know that, but still, you are a business, you're operated like a business, you have a board of directors, and
And you know
you're
what?
beholden to the association members.
And as a small group, and we are a small group,
Mhm.
we're family. Come on, you can save us some money to be used for yourselves. Come
But
on.
that's what I'm saying, is like those few people that you have to mail to, they're eventually gonna die. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Why charge
but,
them $2?
you know,
Because they're gonna die, they're probably no tech, and they don't have an email, they don't even look at email. My parents never had an email in their
the
life.
people that told me they didn't have emails, the first time they got the $2 bill, they sent me their email.
Well, that's good.
Yes.
I just
You know?
noticed the $2.
I don't mind that, I just don't, I
And
think
then
that
I
email,
took the $2 off for them.
but I think that the email is a good idea. I just don't think that there should be a punishment for mail, because mail is, as email is, whether it doesn't cost you
I
anything or
don't
not.
see it as a punishment, I see it as a choice.
Well, one costs money and the other one doesn't.
Yes, and that's the choice they're making.
Yeah.
They have a choice
I
to
don't
do it
think
for
so
free.
if they're a no-tech person.
If they're no tech, I don't charge them.
Well, that's unfair to the person that has the choice of saying, I don't want to do it.
No,
Well,
no.
we differ on that, because I think that when you charge a certain membership
I
to
convinced
the
somebody that you can
association-
go to the library and do it, and they're doing that now.
Well, that's terrible.
No, it's not.
They have to go
No,
to the
it's
library
not.
to answer their email. That sounds bad. All right, so,
And you know what? Every one of the people that I spoke to has smartphone,
yeah,
so they have access to email.
that
It's
is
a
good. I don't
choice.
know. I don't know all the people that are in the thing, but I assume some of them are on their deathbed or getting close to it.
No, the people that are, no.
You know, I mean, there's a lot of people dead in that list, and
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's some getting ready.
No, there's some that I have looked at, like the ones who own 3 properties over in Yellow Cliff. They own several properties across the island.
Mm-hmm.
They've never paid taxes on any of them, and they've never paid any of their fees on any of them. So they can pay $2 for their mail. And you know what? They put me through that aggravation. I'm gonna charge you $2 freaking. And remember, up till now, nobody's ever paid interest.
Well, that's another thing you're adding is 8% interest.
Yeah,
Okay, so that is another penalty.
and it should be.
But here's the thing, is that judgments assess interest in a court.
Yeah, they can.
They do, on an amount. A
It's up to the
judge-
judge.
Yeah, but he usually, like in Virginia, they put 9% on a judgment. Okay, so, but that's a legal percentage, you know, of
This
interest.
is a legal percentage.
How?
The lawyer told me.
So you can assess interest on unpaid things. All right, well, if the lawyer says it's legal, I think that it's questionable, but I'm not a lawyer. I know that I would feel more comfortable, rather than the association being a punisher, that the court be a punisher.
It's gonna cost us $500 to go to court and get that.
Does that mean you're not going to get a judgment?
No, we will, because eventually, if we get anything.
Because you can have a bunch of.
No, I showed you the ones that were going, there's 7 of them that were gonna go for judgments.
All
that
at
we
the same
think we-
time, right?
Well,
Go in
that's
there with-
gonna be up to the board.
I mean, that's
That'll
the
be up to
way.
the board, which ones we pick and how we do them.
We'll see, but I'm saying cost of saving, or savings here, you know.
We have to wait and see.
When
It's
you
not
have-
gonna be $500 at one time, it's 100 now and then another, you know, it goes over time. But the thing is, if that judge says, and it comes to the point where, okay, we're gonna foreclose on it, it's gonna go to auction, whatever. The first thing that they're gonna do is pay the taxes. Then if there's a mortgage, they pay the mortgage. If it's sold for more than that, we'll get some. We may not even get any money out of it. So that's $500 that even if the judgment is in our favor, we may never see.
Well, once you have a judgment, is there any arm on the island for levy?
What do you mean?
In the States, when somebody has a judgment against somebody, they can garnish wages, they can levy against property.
No, they won't do that
I
here.
mean, I've seen the notices in the
That's if they owe the government.
post office.
Yeah.
You know, that you can levy against property,
Yeah,
like
and-
sell their house
Yeah,
or sell their,
and
I
a
mean, sell
lot
their
of
car.
these people don't live here.
Mhm.
The ones that do, I don't know what the story is. They're getting away with hell. I don't know if they have relatives. And there's one I know, everything he earns is off the books.
Well, you know, what good is it to get a judgment then?
The thing is, you can force the sale of it, and even if we don't get any money, we'll get a new person in here who's gonna start paying fees.
How can you force the sale of it?
The judge will do it. If we get the judgment and they can't pay, it goes to foreclosure, or tax or auction.
Well, a lot of times if these things have,
Come here,
a
come.
lot of times if these things have a mortgage,
They don't. I've looked. There's no
those
mortgage on
ones-
record.
Okay. But that's just for the ones that you're seeking?
Yeah, because in sitting with the lawyer, I've ad nauseum, I know this stuff now. If there's a mortgage, it's not worth going after. If there's no mortgage, then you have at so many years, I have written down somewhere, at so many years of non-payment, I have this option. After so many years of that, I have an option. I know all my years I have to wait and have the option. That's why we have a list, who can I go after now, who can I go after later? Like these ones that are deceased. I think we're waiting 15 years before we can do anything. The ones that are alive, I think I have to wait either 7 or 8 years before I can do something. So I can't tell you how much I've tried to put this thing together in the best ways possible. And when you have $140,000 outstanding over the course of 25 years, yeah, let's start paying some interest and getting some of that money.
Yeah.
Because don't look at it as you, the individual who's a responsible person. This is trying to get people to say, yeah, let me pay my fees because there's interest. I don't want to pay interest. I sent out a 30-day notice. This is somebody who didn't pay for 10 years. I sent out a 30-day notice. I sent out a 60-day notice. I sent out a 90-day notice. And I read legally how I have to do this. With the 90-day, I sent out an intent to file a lien in 90 days. Now you've had 180 days. Before the lien comes, being the person I am, I call them up, I write them, I do everything I can to get a hold of them. You really want me to file a lien? It's going to cost you this much money in lien fees and your record and everything else. And I put it a different way, but then I sent them certified mail, the lien. Now this is what I got to get it notified, I got to get it written, I got to take it down to the office. After it's in the office, I have to wait 2 weeks, I have to go back down to the governor's office, I have to get the copy, I have to have the copy, the original copy certified and have to send that to them by certified mail. And they go, you put a lien on my property. I said, yeah, I've been communicating with you for 6 months that this is going to happen. I didn't think you were going to do it. They never did it before.
Right.
So this is what I've been pulling my hair out over the past 12 months.
Yeah.
And this is why, you know, let's stimulate these people.
Well, I agree with that. I just don't want the association to become a punishing type organization. You know, that it never has been. And I agree with going after non-paying accounts. I agree with that completely because that's a business. You know what I'm saying? It's like my business would do it if somebody wasn't paying me. And so that's a normal course of business is to go after past dues. So I don't have any problem with going after past dues. But a lot of things are changing in the entire
And every single person here who pays their fees has been paying special assessment fees because these people haven't paid.
Well, that is true, but now the special assessment fees have become more in concrete and plus some.
No, they haven't. It's only been 2 or 3 years.
What I'm saying is that, yes, you've paid a special assessment fee 2 years in a row, but then now you've got an increase even over that, okay, because it was a $400, $200 fee, $200 special assessment, and now it's going to be a $500 fee, okay, assessment.
So that we can break even.
But here's the thing, is that that's based on people that have been paying, okay? So you're trying to break even off the backs of the people that do pay versus the ones that don't pay.
Well, the ones that aren't paying, that's why I made that one sheet I showed you. These are funds that we are not going to collect until we go to judgment. These are things that we're not going to collect for at least 5 years. Mm-hmm. That's how long judgments take. And the deceased, 15 years. So you know what? The cost of the roads isn't dependent on how many people live here, but how much we pay is.
Well, you know, some people are going to say that the concrete expenditure was, you know, $80,000 plus, right? And that, because it was all those back fees and so forth, that would have been a good thing to carry over to the next year and still maintain the roads as dirt roads.
Except, and we had a civil engineer, which we didn't have to pay for, examine all the roads and say, what should we do?
Why didn't we have to pay a civil engineer?
Because the person's a member of the community and doesn't want to be known. He doesn't
Okay.
want the name out there because he doesn't want backlash
Okay.
or people calling him, okay? That area up there, at that intersection, the way the water comes down and erodes it, if we hadn't addressed that area. There was a 15-inch drop that people had to, first responders, water, cement trucks refused to go up that road.
Mhm.
That had to be taken care of.
But
And
we had
the
that
same
big,
thing was this, people could not eventually get up this road. You don't know how many times we slipped and actually backtracked trying to get up this road in four-wheel. It had to be done.
okay, the reason why I'm saying that is past 60 years it's worked, right? As devil's advocate. Past 60 years it's worked, but we had that big plan that was done for maintaining
In
dirt
14,
roads, right?
in 2014.
That plan,
Mhm.
right? But that plan called for a different way to maintain dirt roads and not pave the roads. You know, that's what it was designed to do.
But that was being done under a grant, and the people who were in charge of the grant left island, so that whole thing fell apart.
But we
That's
got
number
the,
one. But
we got
we
the
have,
plan,
yes, but
which was the reason.
now the storm came through and changed a lot of things. And we are no longer dirt roads, we're down to bedrock.
Well, there was a
in
lot
a
of
lot of
bedrock
places.
anyway. in
And
the
our
past.
swales have changed. People have come in and done some construction without any concern to where their construction made the water, like at your house, how the water ran off.
Mhm.
We're talking with the one up here, 18, who's putting in her driveway right now, because she just put the dirt right over the swale, filled it in. And we told her, and Brian had spoken to whoever, and the pipe is laying there next to it, but they hadn't put it under. So the water's, and
Obviously.
that heavy, heavy rain, I don't know if you were on island yet, just before we did this, we did our driveway, and we told him to take all the dirt and put it on the hill,
Mhm.
just to help save some of that money for the association. And that night, we had a 10-hour rain.
Oh, sure.
And that's what happened in the lot. And I got DPNR to dump 5 loads of stuff down there for free.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it was there, because that made such ruts in Coral Reef. They were trenches, they weren't even ruts anymore. And at least we had the fill, and I think we paid $700 to have him come in and take all that.
Who do we pay that job to? I
That
mean,
was Heights Construction.
What is it?
Heights,
Heights?
H-E-I-G-H-T.
Have we ever contacted that guy up the road that has his or his front end loader
Yeah, he
next to his
wanted like
house?
$150 an hour.
Really?
He was over 100.
Figured that would be a nice job.
And
for
being
him
the
to do.
island it is, and the way construction is right now and everything else, you can't even get people to return a call when you ask for an estimate. I saw on the regular Facebook, there's a new one called High Quality Construction out there. So when I see stuff like that, I put it into our contractors folder, so at least next time, let's go to the folder, see what we have. Oh, we have that one, okay, let's call them, you know. I'm trying to keep records,
Yeah.
which is first too. But that's why I wanted you to come up and talk, because you can see where some of this is now coming from.
Mhm.
It's not just we sat down and said, let's do this, let's do this.
So what's the purpose of separating the secretary treasurer?
Because those are the only 2 jobs that require work. And it's
Is it-
unfair to have one person. I have literally worked more hours than a full-time job. Now, the way it's worded in there is that it can be 2 jobs or it can be 1.
Right.
Now, when I took this job, I told them I will not be secretary. Oh,
But
we'll
you had
help
to
you
be.
out with all that. You know what? Over to you.
But you had
Can
to
you
be
make
by
a phone
then.
call? No.
Well, that's up to you, but the thing says that you shall be combined. So when you took that job with under those, you really had to be.
No, well, no, because I said, this is only what I'll do. You know, it was, hey, those 2 guys were doing 1 job before, not 4. They were
And
only
that's-
doing 1 job.
Well,
And
oh,
I
I
didn't,
see what
you
you're
know-
saying. Yeah. Well,
Only job they were doing were the roads.
Yeah, well, that was the purpose of the thing.
No,
That's
purpose
what
of
it
the thing
said.
is keeping track of the money, keeping track
Oh,
of
no,
this.
not purpose of your job, not purpose of treasurer. I'm talking about the purpose of the.
The association.
Association is to maintain the roads.
Yeah, but how do you do that unless you keep track of everything
Oh, I
else?
agree with you
Yeah.
completely. That's why I actually disagree with another clause in here, that, that allows the president to sign checks.
No, that got taken out.
Okay.
That got
It was-
taken out.
It was still in the one that you had to me. But, that's why I'm saying, it's like, you
No,
know,
that got taken out.
you know, if you're a cashier, how many people do you want in your till?
I think the way it's gonna be is I sign the checks. If it's over a certain amount of money, 2 people sign the check.
That's
Which
fine.
the bank doesn't even check. So
But
that's
see,
just an association thing.
And another thing
And
is
we
that,
have it, so in our minutes, it says that if we've agreed on the money at a meeting, the secretary is the only person who has to, because it's an agreed amount. If it goes over that amount or it's a different amount, then we get the 2 signatures again. Because I can use Zelle, that doesn't require a signature. I can have a bank check sent to you, that doesn't require signatures.
is Zelle payment coming to your email or is it your phone number?
It goes directly, it's the treasurer's email, which
Okay.
goes directly to the account.
Gotcha.
It doesn't come to me, it goes
Right,
directly
right.
to the account.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think that anybody, if I was treasurer, nobody touches it,
No,
but me. You know, you can't do
QuickBooks is
that.
registered to me, nobody can get into that
You
but me.
cannot have more than one person with their finger on the money.
Now, I have the checkbook, I have nobody,
And that's fine with me. You might want to check the Articles of Incorporation, which only allows a liability of $5,000, because we've blown that away this year.
until we can fix the articles. Because that's one thing that we're gonna change the articles and redo everything for this year, but he said we can't just do one thing, we know.
But you have to abide by them if they're.
I know, which we are. What do you mean we blew the 5,000 away?
By spending 80,000,
Well, what are you talking
a
about?
liability. When you have a liability of the corporation, a liability means you're entering into a liability with a contractor
Go
for
ahead.
money. The Articles of Incorporation say a maximum of $5,000.
But how is that a liability?
When you owe someone. When you owe somebody, it's a liability.
Okay.
It's not an asset, it's a liability. So you have assets and liabilities, you're only allowed to be $5,000 in liability per the Articles of Incorporation.
Okay, because what I'm thinking of, and I don't know the right answer, I'm listening to you, and I have my own definition of a liability, and I'll ask the lawyer what it means as far as when it's in the articles,
Yeah.
what it really refers to.
Yeah, because
Okay.
basically it's a limitation of your expenditures,
Okay, see, I
you know?
don't see it that way, which
Yeah.
is why it didn't come up, and I don't think they did either, but I will definitely ask the lawyer about
Yeah,
that one.
for
What
sure,
does the
because
liability
if-
mean?
And see, that's when you spend that much money, even though you did an amazing job collecting that much money, it was absolutely amazing, that when you spend that much money and it's basically gone, there are improvements that were made to the roads, but not in for the greater good of all the association, right? Because none of the other roads were graded as a result of spending $80,000 on these two. And $30,000 the
Yes and no.
previous year.
Yes and no, because the drainage pattern has been improved to a certain extent for all the downward area.
Well, I know
But
that,
the only place that's possible that would improve for everybody is the intersection, that one small lot. Otherwise, it doesn't apply to everybody,
what intersection?
right where you are. The four-way
Th- th-
intersection.
that's not a
leading
big
into the
deal?
property. No, but that's the only piece of road.
Oh, no, I
That
know,
affects
and I'm
all.
saying, yeah, all. But
Right.
what I'm saying is that and it doesn't even affect all, because the other guys come down the other way.
But they have to come out that way.
Not the people that live over there. They come down this main road. A lot of people come straight down here.
And
So-
this is the intersection.
Oh, no, I thought you meant this one.
No, this one.
Or this one, I thought you meant this one.
No, this one
Oh,
right here.
Yeah, that is the exit to the
Yeah, that's
whole
the only
complex.
piece that
But that doesn't
encompasses
mean
everybody.
anything because it's paved right to there. And-
Exactly. But
but-
everything we do, and you have to look at it this way too, every improvement, not just in maintenance, but every improvement we make builds up the value for the whole community.
But as far as these two concrete, or three concrete, these three concrete structures go,
And according to the road engineer, it's the only way that we don't have, because this was down to bedrock. People were slicing
Yeah.
their tires.
yeah.
Literally
Yeah, I
slicing
agree
their
with that. I'm
tires.
just, I was going with that original plan that was done under that grant that we were talking about. And
Yeah.
what they said that we should do because we have dirt roads, and that's what we got. What I see as a problem with the concrete ones, even though they're gorgeous and feel really good, is that the water accelerates down that concrete, okay, whereas the plan called for dips and trenches going down a hill. So you'd have a little dam of sorts. So you'd have a dam and a pool, and a dam and a pool, and a dam and a pool going down, because what it did was it slowed the water down,
Yeah.
but it also dropped the sediment in the pool, because the pool allowed it to slow
see,
down
We're
and drop
trying
the
to
sediment.
do that in, like in this one here, we had them put it, and he did it, I don't know, he did it well. There's a trap there to catch the sediments. So above us, the swales are moved over to this side of the road, and this is where the trap is going down further.
Mhm,
Now what we've got to address is just below that,
Right at the end of
the
the
cement.
cement, yes, because that water's gonna be hauling ass down that thing, and as soon as it hits the bottom, it's gonna wash it out.
We've
It's already
actually,
doing it,
we
but-
actually filmed it a couple times because we
Yeah,
were
I saw
checking
one of
to
them.
see what it does.
Yeah.
And, it's just being addressed.
And so if you dig down there at the bottom of it, and you put in a bunch of big rocks right there at the bottom of the
Mhm.
swale, so that water comes down, hits the rocks, takes the energy out of the water,
Right,
right? Because you have to annihilate that speed, for one, because you don't want it to start to wash out the end of your thing, because it's gonna just start breaking off.
and Tony's been picking up rocks and we're slowly putting them there, but people have taken them away.
What?
Yes,
Oh, use that in the garden.
Oh, come on.
no,
I'm serious.
seriously.
Well, then it needs to look more like a fixture.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm gonna build them up with rocks and then basically put the blacktop that we've got down there,
Yeah,
put that on top so it's more of a slope
okay,
than a waterfall.
got you.
Right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you can do that
You wouldn't believe it.
and step it.
That's
So
great.
it's like a salmon ladder, it slows the water down as well.
Mm-hmm,
But people don't walk away from it, walk away with it, you know? And then also down here, when he cleared his property.
Oh,
they-
that guy right there is building.
Yeah,
Okay.
they filled this, that was all concrete swale around that. All the way around
Really?
to the entrance to his property.
And it's
They
not
filled it.
covered?
When they cleared the property, they dumped all the dirt on that.
So do you tell them to clean
Well,
that
actually,
up?
that's a
Well,
whole
I
other
don't-
issue that,
That's a
That
whole
we won't
different
even get
ballgame.
They're part of our association, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
In that lot?
But,
But the road is on his property. And I
Why is
told-
the road on his property?
because it was easier to put it on his property.
Because
than dig through the
no-
rock and see
But is
where
it
it's
supposed to be
found.
somewhere
Tony.
else?
Don't give him the
Yeah.
story. According to surveyors that we've spoken to,
No?
when the roads were first cut in, according to the cadastral maps, the way they were supposed to be, the guys in the bulldozers would hit a block of rock or something that they didn't want to deal with, so they went around it.
Okay.
And that became the road. And nobody ever questioned. Those became the roads. This guy has every right to his property. He's being very good with us. I have a good relationship with him. And we're just waiting to find out the title search on 30 because we can't change his road without his permission.
Well, yes, you can.
No, we can't.
You can change it to what the road is.
No, we can't because it's not ours to do.
It belongs to
There's
that
no,
road,
there's
belongs
no
to somebody.
dedicated roadway that is, I mean, when you
But
say
it
the road is
belongs to
his,
somebody.
when you say the road is his, is it come out from his property line like, when you say the road is his, what do you mean? Because he's number 10.
Yeah.
No, he's not. He's right.
He's
Yeah,
10.
number 10.
Yeah, he's
He
10.
was 2 tens.
Yeah. So he's number 10.
Okay, see this little line here?
Yes.
Okay,
Is
let's
that where
just,
it's
no,
supposed- where it's
I
supposed to be?
don't know what that is. But I'm just gonna use it as an example,
Okay.
okay? Let's say this is where the road should be,
Mm-hmm.
and that darker one is part of his property.
Okay.
And he wants to put a fence up, which would have blocked traffic from coming up here.
Yeah.
So we've got him to a point, and his contractor, we talked to both of them, they're not gonna do it. If they do anything, they'll put up a temporary fence where it looks like it should be now. But his comes out 3 or 4 feet into the road.
Okay.
Once we find out, and I'm gonna,
The concrete
now that the
swale
holidays
on his
are
property?
over, I might be able to get, it's enough that it makes a difference.
Isn't there an easement there for the road?
There's no easement,
No easements for these roads.
no. But it's.
You said that
we're
there
all-
was over there at
yes,
Paul's.
it depends what it says in here, in these
Okay.
things, whether they're easements or roadways, and there's a difference.
Yeah, there is.
And then there's another term too. And even though it's been that way since 1960s, it's still his property and he still has a right to it. It hasn't been grandfathered in any way.
Okay.
And there's no waivers. I've checked for waivers. I've checked, because that would have helped us. But the matter is,
So when he had his property surveyed.
it may be a
it brought
matter
that
of,
up.
and it's just a grassy area, but we're gonna have to have it cleared. And who should pay for that clearing? We're talking maybe $3,000 or $4,000 here. So who's gotta do that? First, let's find out who owns it. Because it's easy to get the money before the fact.
Well, it
and then
sounds
after the
like,
fact.
it sounds like the road was put in the wrong spot.
Yeah, obviously.
So they can survey, you already surveyed one side, they surveyed one side of it. All you have to do is take a tape measure off and go 20 feet if our roads are 20 feet.
Not necessarily.
No, 'cause
No.
That's how these things get done in the first place, they get wrong. So
No,
you know
no.
what?
Is there
So
anything saying how
let-
wide the
so
road is?
if we find out who owns it, then they're responsible for having a survey done and putting up the markers where it actually belongs, so that we don't have problem
If
from
I own
other
it, I'm putting a
owners.
fucking toll booth on it.
They can't do that.
Yes, I
No, you
can.
can't.
It's mine.
You can't,
Why?
because it
it's a-
says
it's
so.
It says I can't put a toll
No, it
booth?
says that you
You
have to
can't
maintain
restrict
a
access.
pathway. You
That's
can't
right, it doesn't
restrict
say I
it.
can't put a
No,
toll
you
booth.
can't do it.
I'm not restricting you,
You can't do it.
I'm just putting a toll booth.
Uh-uh.
there.
I guess I will for the last. But,
Okay, so, but that's something else. That's
So-
an easy thing, once we figure it out.
Well, yeah, that does sound quite easy. I understand anybody that buys property wanting all of their property. However, I acquiesced to the road in front of my house.
Yeah, most of
Because-
us have.
Because
He doesn't
it goes
want to.
out into the road, there's a stake in the
Yeah.
road that's
Yeah.
my property.
Right.
But you see what I did with my fence?
but,
I curved it because,
And most of
first
us-
of all, I want people to be able to see. Second of all, that's really what it became.
Yeah. And you know what, most of us do that.
Yeah,
Most of
Most
us
of us
have
do
that
that
same
way.
issue.
yeah,
He wants his property.
yeah. Well, that's fine.
this,
I'm just more of a, it's been that way for a long time, rather than fight something. If you've let something go so long,
And you know what, he's owned that
Kind of
property
given.
since 2013, so.
yeah, I don't know.
now we
When
just,
you first had it surveyed, why didn't you say something?
Right.
But
That's okay. If it were me, I've
I've spoken to the
don't need all
lawyer,
that.
he's entitled, he's entitled.
I
I
just,
need the headache less than I
I
need
just
the
feel
life.
like, huh?
I need the headache less
So,
than I need the life.
finish
Right.
up, what
All
else?
right.
Thank you. One Steve.
Why are you changing it, huh?
Mhm.
Oh. Why are you changing it from a 1-week notice for a special meeting or a meeting to a 1-day notice?
Hurricane, stuff like that.
Okay, so that would be emergency.
They can be,
Because that just says meetings,
yeah,
not emergency meetings.
yeah, that's,
Emergency
yeah,
meetings,
but a special meeting, sometimes you just can't wait. A decision has to be made and you have to get together.
okay,
And we found that out this year.
okay. So here it said a road emergency, board expenditure should not exceed $500.
500 or 5,000?
Well, you're changing it to 5,000, but
When-
it was 500.
Yeah, the delivery charge for equipment, $6.50 now.
Yeah, that's just,
Yeah, I understand
Yeah,
that's an old
yeah,
figure. But you also removed road emergency out of the, well, you put it here, but you
Yeah.
put emergency expenditures, which is a new one. Any emergency expenditure, what would you imagine that to be?
you know, after the hurricanes, there was so much, it's like you might need a generator, you might, you know. We're just trying to cover a base that we don't know exists.
Okay.
I'd say piling comes down across the roadway.
Yeah.
And you gotta move it,
You need
you
to
know.
move it.
Call me, I got a Bobcat and a chainsaw.
Yeah, what if you're on a
Who's
fire?
Yeah,
in
but,
charge of?
you know,
What if you're on a fire?
All right.
Same as the top, yeah.
that's just
Yeah.
kind of a cover your base kind of thing.
Yeah, okay.
And now with all
when it-
these tsunamis going
when it-
around,
Oh, there's tsunamis?
Yeah.
you haven't read?
I keep getting messages,
The
but no
two
tsunami alert.
largest earthquakes ever recorded just were off in the ocean off of Tonga,
Really?
and they are creating tsunamis on the west coast of California.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Oh, I got a bit of bone up on my, I don't watch much TV.
not majors, not like
5-6 feet.
Thailand,
But hitting California, 5-6 feet.
but the wash is going.
And-
I mean,
and-
if we had a 5 or 6 foot surge down there, all those $1 million homes.
Yeah, right.
We
Maybe,
did a
maybe I
50
could get waterfront property out of it.
We did a 15-foot tidal surge in New York.
Yeah, we had a
Yeah.
17-foot
Oh,
surge
wow.
in Storm Sandy. We had 4 feet of water
Oh,
on the
that's right, you
house.
guys were in Sandy. Well, that was that, right? So that was 5.8. Okay, so this one, was kind of weird because if three board members are not available at the time the vote arises concerning road emergency situation, board members who are available may appoint up to 2 temporary board members. So that is kind of odd to me because when it requires.
That was in the old one.
No, it was different,
It's in the-
actually.
Yeah, but it said you can appoint,
Yes,
Yeah.
but it required a unanimous vote of 5. This one requires only a unanimous vote of 3,
we're,
which is not a unanimous vote
no,
by
no.
definition.
We want to take, I think that was a typo on the lawyer's part, that word unanimous should have been there. And
Well,
we're gonna mention,
Majority.
we're gonna mention at the meeting that it's gonna say majority on that one.
Okay, because that is a difference, because here it was determined by unanimous vote of the board members, right?
Right.
And so here, what you're doing is, you're saying by unanimous vote of the board members, so long as there's at least 3 board members available to vote. That's a contradiction
I
right
know,
there.
yeah,
But-
that's being taken care of.
Okay.
That was just an error, and we're also, he put in something to talk about technology, because almost everybody is reachable all the time now.
So we already talked about you splitting up secretary treasurer and the possibility of having that position. I think that the only part of that needed to be addressed would be where you would have to add, if you combine secretary treasurer, now you have to have 2 elected members like originally. But it says somewhere in here that you can only have, or that you would only have 1 additional person, which will only give you 4 if you combine those positions.
Show me what you're talking about.
That's what I'm wanting to know.
Because it also, now see, this is where you have to go to the articles again. The articles say up to 7,
No, 5.
5. I think we want to make it 7, but we didn't. So again, that's something that's in the articles, and the articles, I think, supersede the bylaws.
Yes, I believe they do. But the articles are also
Yeah, the number, the
being
affair managed by a board
superseded
5,
by
here. 3 offices, 2 elected members.
Yes.
Yeah.
So 3 officers, 2 elected members. The third officer is the treasurer secretary. So that's the
So we're
one
adding a
position.
4th officer, but we're
Yes.
keeping the 2. So you need an
You
odd
can't-
number.
You gotta have it up to, right? So if you have 4 officers, being secretary, treasurer separated, and a vice president and president, you
Right.
only need 1 elected member. But if you
Yeah,
decide to.
held by 1 director.
Yes, but if you decide you may, it says you may, which means it gives you the option of combining
Yeah,
these
and then
into
we
one
would have
director.
2.
Then you have to have 2, but you need to make that clear somewhere in here, because I believe
Well,
they only
normally,
allow for 1.
normally, in the societies that I'm in, the secretaries without vote at board meetings?
Well,
Depends, and they're not
I'm saying
considered,
it kind
then
of
they're
makes
not on the
sense
board.
because the secretary and the treasurer here is actually combined. The secretary and treasurer doesn't get 2 votes.
No,
When they're combined, they only have 1 vote.
Right.
So they can't count as 2. That's why you have the other 2 alternates, or temporary directors, and not temporary directors, the other 2 directors.
yeah.
But there is a point where you, in here where it says that you can have 2 temporary elected officials if you only have 1 out of 3 on the island.
Right.
You know,
In
which
other
is
words,
kinda
we're always
weird
gonna make
because
sure we have
at
the
least a
full
majority.
amount, yeah.
So you've changed some things here with this one, whereas the duties of the president used to be in charge, automatically in charge, ex officio, of member of the committees, of all committees.
Mhm.
The president would be in charge of all committees. But he shall, in collaboration and subject to the approval of the board, okay, appoint members of all the committees. So if I was president, the way the new one reads is that I can pick a committee and nobody else can say shit about it. Because here it says, President serves as spokesperson for the association, that's new, presides over all board meetings, annual meetings, initiates meetings and agendas, calls for votes, assigns association documents, and designates committees. It just designates committees.
Yeah.
It doesn't say that the board of directors have to be
Yeah, that
conferred
will-
with or anything. So it's like it gave him a blank check to put anybody on the committee that he wants to
No,
without any input
that's
from
an
a board.
oversight, that's just an oversight, so this was under 6.3?
I'll give you this, but you can just mark on this if you want.
Okay.
Just mark on that.
I think it we're not supposed to maybe say we need a road committee.
Yeah.
We need a lighting committee.
And if you do, all it basically says is you're in charge of the
Okay,
committee.
designates the committees, members of committee.
Basically put
A vote.
Voted
that
on by
verbiage back
board.
in it. You know, there was no reason to take that verbiage out because it was good, in the sense it's a check and balance, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't give the
That could have been an
president.
oversight on the lawyer's receptionist or whoever typed all this
Okay.
crap up. Because
Because
that
you
shouldn't
can't
have
give
been
one
there. And that's
person
something we didn't
all of
catch.
that without a check and balance, okay? So, as long as that
Yeah.
president has to collaborate,
Yeah.
talk to the board, at least talk with them and say, who should we have as a member of the committee? And then the board approves the committee, the chosen ones, right? And because you're ex officio, that means you're in charge of all committees as the president. So there's no committee that is on its own. It has to have representation, and the president is in charge. He's the leader of all committees.
Mhm.
So he knows what the fuck is going on,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So I think that should be kind of backtracked, back to his duties being backtracked into what they were. I don't know what president serves as spokesman for the association even means.
Well, basically, he addresses the meeting,
Yeah, well, that,
at the annual meeting,
yeah.
on behalf of the board members.
I don't understand why this was changed. See, that's where I get into, when you give something to a lawyer, they don't feel like they're doing their job unless they change things. This is an exact example of that because the entire document has changed. 27 changes in here, okay? But there was nothing wrong, in my opinion, with that duty of that president right there because nothing's been added, it's only been subtracted. And so that was kind of an odd thing to change that when there was nothing wrong with that in the first place. Except it did remove out of here that he shall, he shall be in charge of all the committees, but he shall call regular and special meetings in accordance with these bylaws. That was removed out of there, I don't know why. You know, it just,
Some of that was supposed
well, Dave probably won't be the president again, and if you have a bad president, maybe you should insert an article in here that gets rid of board members if you want,
to be. There is something
by a
there.
special vote. I've never seen it in here.
I think it's in the articles.
I don't think it's in
They-
bylaws.
Well, it says that you can, but it
No,
says,
It doesn't say how.
well, that's where this is supposed to come in.
I don't think that should be in the articles though. That's not a.
Well, the
bylaw.
articles say that you can remove board members, but this is how you do it, and it's not in here. So it says you can do it, this is how you do it, but it's not in here. So if you have a deadbeat board member, that you need to get rid of, for whatever reason, you should have the ability to do that in this document. So I wouldn't be against having
I'll ask
something
the
in
lawyer
there
where that
that
should be.
allowed for the removal of a board member for 2/3 of a vote of present board members or something, or present members, not board. I don't think the board should be able to get rid of them. I think the association should be able to get rid of them. You see what I'm saying? So if you had a
Well,
special meeting down there at the hut and say, all right, we need to vote for a new president. Or
Well,
a new
that's
vice
when,
president.
see, even the members, you can call and say, we need to have a special meeting, and we're not happy with the president, and, you know, but members don't take action at all. They don't want to be a part of it. They've proved this over and over again.
Well, you have to give them the option. They have to have the option to do that. Whether they
Yeah.
participate or not, and I haven't participated in 16 fucking years.
Okay,
And it's because I haven't been here.
bring that up at the meeting, okay? Because that's something that should be brought up to add in,
Okay. I can't read that.
okay? Removal of board member,
Okay. Oh, no, I can't write it. It's your copy.
yeah.
Okay, I'll try to remember that. So,
Hey, you want a piece of paper to write it down?
no, just
Okay.
email me.
Okay.
You got my email. Don't charge me $2 either.
He knows the fee.
All right, so let's go to the next one here. Okay, because secretary has been changed all over the place. Actually, it hasn't been, I don't know why they changed format from this, making a duty of a secretary and having a
Okay,
list
just
of
let
duties.
me, okay, this is what, when I went down there, I told Nate, because they wouldn't agree to do any duties, let alone
Who wouldn't?
list them.
The
So
secretary?
I said to, no, the guys, there's no secretary. Shut up.
That says
So
right
I
in here.
told the lawyer, I say, you know, you deal with POAs all the time, list the general duties of each of these things.
Mm. Well, what we gotta be careful with is that we list general duties, but knock some of them off. If it's not something that is relevant to us, excuse me, like, and you have to know what they are as well, right? Validate documents. What is validate documents? There's no definition of validate documents. It's in there, it sounds good, but it's never been here that a secretary validates a document. I don't know what the process or procedure would be for that, yeah.
Well, I'm
You know,
assuming
it's like
that's
this.
like
Yeah,
the-
it's a document,
The
validated.
liens, yeah, making sure that you have the
You
right
know.
paperwork.
I know, but it's still a very vague term. And when you're giving somebody duties, they should not be vague. They should be pretty straightforward like that. You know, that's not vague.
Does that say validate
No, it
documents?
does not.
What's it say?
It says, be custodian of all secretarial records and shall make these records available to the board of directors as requested. Keep minutes and meetings of board of directors and membership meetings, give and serve all notices of association, and
So
keep a
they
list of
kind of
members.
added that in.
They did add it in, but it's very vague, so what the hell does it mean? Who the hell validates a document? What does that even mean? If you authenticate something, maybe that's different, because you have to make sure it's authentic.
I'll have to
But-
have this meeting.
What document has not been authentic? Has there been any counterfeit documents in our thing that would make that even a duty?
I'll see if I
necessary
can get a
duty.
hold of him this,
It just doesn't seem necessary as a duty.
if I can get a hold of him this week, I'll have him.
Whose duties was that under?
Secretary. So the treasurer, no changes to the treasurer except you made it politically correct. He or she. Signatories, that's where it is different and the same. But the only part that was bad with that, in my opinion, is that the president and treasurer have the authorized to sign checks. I believe only the treasurer should sign checks.
And that's true.
Nobody should be in the pocket of the association except the treasurer. So that person is responsible for the funds, and nobody should have their finger in the pie.
I think that was there in case, just something happens to the treasurer.
You know what? Something happens to the treasurer, you have a meeting, you vote in a new treasurer, or something of that nature, because That's a dangerous situation when you have somebody else with a checkbook. And can you imagine if somebody wrote a check without your knowledge? How would that make you feel?
Well, you can't sign it.
Yeah, but not at the end of that.
Yeah.
Okay, he's got to have a checkbook. And I disagree with that completely. I don't think that only one person should have the ability to spend money in the association. Because that person is literally responsible for the funds, right? And if nobody's got their fingers in your till, then you know what's in your till, you know what's coming out of it, you know what goes into it, and you can defend it to the hilt.
Okay.
And then the last one, I think, was never changed, but every other thing in here has been changed. 27 changes, and that just seems to me to be a bit much, just because there's been 4 amendments in 60 years, and now there's 27 amendments at one time.
Well, no, there's 27 changes.
That's
21
right.
amendment.
Well, you can say that, but the way I look at this is not an amendment, this is a replacement. Okay? This is not an amendment to bylaws, this is a replacement of bylaws. Because there are so many
And I
material
kind of agree with
changes.
you, but then again, we are no longer the same entity we were in 1979. And they chose to write articles that said they were the entity of the 60s when they didn't, then when they weren't.
But you are the entity that was passed down from 1979, or 1997, I think was the last one, right? So
But you know what?
1997, you were that entity up
But-
until you get these changed.
Except we weren't
You're still the
behaving
entity.
as that entity. We were behaving as the one that we're describing here.
That's the problem that you have with boards changing so often, right? And they're anybody,
Yeah.
right? So every board every year, if they change every year, and I don't know because I haven't kept up, but if they change every year, you've got different personalities, different people that are going to do things.
And nobody ever read the minutes from the previous board.
And that's kind of ridiculous in its sense, but I couldn't read any minutes because they're not on that website. And I tried to read all the minutes to try and catch up, but I couldn't because they just
They're
aren't
not there.
And that's something that needs to be changed. I don't know if you can put documents on Facebook, can you?
No, I don't believe so.
No, but the webpage, once we get that,
Yeah, you can put a link on there.
Mhm.
and
Well,
it'll
that's
be a
just trying
sign.
to bring this association to present day, as stated
I
in the
understand.
back pages.
I understand, but there's just some things in here that are hard to swallow, you know? The main one that's gonna be hard to swallow is an increase of 150% of the fees, right?
That shouldn't be
So-
though. After 25 years, you know how much cost of living has gone
You know
up,
what,
the cost
if
of
they did it
doing
right-
business, the cost of everything.
And they did a
should
10%
have been-
increase each year, it'd be 250%.
And we're not even asking, we're still gonna be the least association fee on island.
I don't even know that because I
Yeah.
have no idea what the other associations
Yeah.
pay. But I know that we're having a 150%
Yeah.
increase,
And,
okay?
and communities that don't even have an association chip in $1,000 each a year just to get their roads repotholed.
But they may not have to pitch that in every year.
They do.
Well, yeah,
They do.
well, Miss B Road, Miss B, they just blacktop that from the road.
They put in $130,000 all at once.
They use 3 association fees and
Everybody chipped in.
everybody chipped in $1,500
Mhm.
as a special road assessment just to get it blacktopped,
Mhm.
right? And that was actually,
But there you
Initial
also
blacktop on
have,
top.
you have
That was
more
just put on top.
homeowners than you have lots. We have more lots than we have homeowners.
Yeah.
and
those people are the ones who put up the big fuss.
those are
But
lots.
still, if, it seems like 150% increase.
is.
But not when you
It's a big-
compare to the cost of living, it's a big decrease in what you should be paying. And it's less than $10 a week.
Well, I understand that it's not a tremendous amount of money, but what it is it's a 150% increase.
Well,
Yeah.
what do we want? Do we
Okay.
want to maintain our roads, or do we want to watch them deteriorate
Well-
because we're not collecting enough money?
I'm sure that we want them to be maintained, but
Because I'll
You know,
tell you
I'm
one
just-
thing right now, if that fee increase doesn't pass, there's not gonna be a board.
Why?
I'm gonna drop out.
Okay.
They're gonna drop out.
Who's they?
Brian, there won't be any board members. You have to get a whole
Remember,
new.
he's vice president, so.
Well, he does remember that.
Well, you know, I don't know, but I think that it's a stretch.
Well,
You
I'll
know,
tell you
this is-
too,
this is
the
like-
people who are sending by email their votes, so far out of 10, only one's voted no.
Okay. Well, I will tell you that these here are a lot of changes.
Mhm.
And
A
it
lot of
needs to be.
changes.
The board wasn't functioning. The
Well,
community isn't functioning.
It functioned to the tune of $105,000 this year,
Yeah, well,
you know?
and
a
that's not
lot.
gonna happen every year
No,
because
of
that
course
money
it
was a
won't.
once in a lifetime collection.
Well, I know,
Hopefully.
but, you know, but that, most of it's gone. So you have a little bit left over, but I think that an accounting of that one sheet where you have those negatives and the positives, I think that should be reconciled, because there's not something right with that.
Well,
Where-
because it's not the bank statement.
I know it's not the
just
bank
what
statement,
we
but it
spent
is a
at- no.
profit and loss, right? And when
Yeah,
you have a profit and loss, you have to start with what you had, right?
but
The
it,
previous
like I
year.
said, you know, if you saw the expenses were one year, got paid off in the next year. It doesn't show that in the profit loss statement.
But it should.
How?
It has to, because when
It
you
goes
go
from
to
January 1st to January 1st. It doesn't show what happened on January 15th.
January 1st, what you have left over in January 1st
I had
is
cash
representative.
in February. I had somebody cash a check that was given to them at the beginning of December.
If you have to pay that $2,000 that's negative, or in some instances, I think it was more than that, $20,000 negative, if you have to pay that in the next year, that is now a loss of that year. Okay, so it has to be
Okay,
brought
but that's
over.
where it's coming from.
It has to be
as
brought
far as
over.
I
It's not
can see.
represented. That loss that's being paid for in the next year is not represented in that year's totals.
But it was all from the previous year.
It was a loss from the previous year, which is carried over and paid for. Because as I was explaining to her, you can't borrow money. So that money has got to come from the next year's fees, but it's not represented in that year's losses. You know, and that's why I don't understand that particular chart, because it doesn't add up. You know, remember me saying that
This
you have
year,
11,000 in that one thing.
The only one I can speak to is the
Is
one
this
for
year, I
this year.
understand. And that's
And-
why I was saying, your book should say you have 11,700, whatever it is, at that spot, right? And then if
Well,
you,
the books do, but not profit and loss statement.
the profit and loss did say you have 11,000. Said you
Yeah,
profited
okay,
$11,000.
okay, I was.
For this
Right?
year.
Yeah, for this year,
You want
so,
this?
sure. So it said that, and that's what I'm saying is like, that's a positive, right? If it was a negative number, meaning you owe something, right? You can't go out and say, okay, let me hit the bank and get a loan for that $11,000. This is a positive, so that's being carried over as
Yeah.
a plus in the next year.
But you
Okay?
know what, that's something that we're not gonna resolve at all, because the people who could answer those questions aren't even here anymore.
Well, I understand that, it's just that that document is now, it's not one that is valid, because it doesn't add up. You know, if you can't answer where those negatives or those positives went in the next column year, then that's not even a valid document for the profit and loss, because any loss or any profit that transfers to the next year is part of that year's profit and loss. Because you can't get that end number without having that
And you
profit
know
and
what?
loss of the previous year.
I haven't done it yet in QuickBooks, but the way it seems to be working, if I ask it to make a report this way, I'll see that. If I ask it to make a report, which it's there, so I hit profit and loss, and this is what comes up.
Mhm.
If I hit tax report, I get a totally different view of what happened, so I
Mhm.
think it's just how I ask it to make what kind of report, what it's
Sure.
showing me.
Sure.
And I'm not that familiar with it, and I'm not a finance person, I'm not a bookkeeper, I'm not anything. I'm just a person who said, I'll do this job.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
I just think that when
And
it
to
comes
tell you
to.
something else that's never been done, and this is the first year we're doing it, file taxes. Yeah,
Well, if you're a nonprofit,
you need to file taxes.
you need to file, but you don't need to pay.
No, but you need to file.
Okay. Well, that's good. More of an expense, but it's necessary.
No, well, you know what, we have bookkeepers here. We have people who are certified accountants. Whether they'll do a simple thing like this on the books or for free, I don't know. But you know what, it's the type of thing, I think if you have it done once and pay for it,
Wouldn't it make sense to have a bookkeeper as the treasurer?
yeah, try and get one.
No. I mean, that would be the easiest job for somebody that already knows.
Especially if it's QuickBooks.
Yeah.
But the person who is in our community is overloaded with their own business and being on 2 other boards doing the same thing.
But you don't get no recognition for this board.
But what I was gonna say is if we pay for it once and see, okay, that's where that number goes, that's where that number goes, that, because it doesn't change year to year, then we'll know how to do it ourselves.
If that, what are you talking about?
Taxes.
Oh, taxes, okay. Well, the taxes,
And then I could just plug it into TurboTax.
yeah. Well, as long as you know where to put what.
Oh yeah, do we see it
Because-
for the first time?
Yeah, you see it for the first time, I guess, when you have a tax office do it, and they show you what they did. You
Yeah.
get the taxes back, and you say, okay, well, that's what I do. But also, if it doesn't cost very much for them to do the taxes, then.
It'd probably be about 300, 350.
I would just let them do it, you know?
Then I'm
That
not
way you don't get in
responsible.
trouble.
Right.
Let that person be the person that,
Yeah,
you know,
because I've
responsible.
yelled at these guys, because they, oh, we never filed, let's not open up a can of worms. So, no, because your name is down as treasurer, and you're not the one going to be held responsible, and I am not going to jail for any of you. That's why we have an EIN number.
That was the sole thing
I'm
that
glad
he
that you,
did this year, was file for the EAI.
So let me tell you, if you get elected president this year, a lot of this shit is gone with. I'm just asking you, don't open up too many cans of worms, because
I don't want to open up any cans of worms, because I particularly think, and I know you like that document, I don't like that document as much as you do, because I think it's too many changes too fast.
But there are changes that really don't affect the community as a whole. The interest rate might affect you. The fee definitely isn't. That's the
That
biggest one.
affects everybody.
That's
The
the
fee
big one.
is the biggest
How we
one.
describe a person's, we can
Oh,
change
that's
that.
another thing you gave, which is very strange, or whoever did this. Delegated, the vice president is to perform duties delegated to them. And that is very strange, because that was an addition that has never been there, right?
Well, that
And
was
so-
came from the thing on the internet.
Well, no, that's the lawyer.
But here's the problem with that, is first, nobody's got authority to delegate anything, okay? But nobody's been given authority to
Discharge, it
delegate
doesn't say
anything.
delegate, discharge, and shall perform delegated tasks.
That's the part that's been added.
Yeah, from the
Okay.
discharge.
No, discharge is still in there. This is what is in there for the duties, but this was added to that duty. Okay, so this was the original duty, but this was added to that duty. And so what it says is vice president shall perform delegated tasks. The problem with that is that it doesn't say who delegates those tasks to the vice president, and it doesn't give anybody authority to delegate any tasks to a vice president by anybody. You see? So that is a vague statement that has no definition and no backing anywhere else. If I was vice president, I'd say, you can't delegate any tasks to me, because you don't have the authority to do that. You weren't given authority in that bylaw to do anything like that. And I would assume that it would be the president saying, you have to do one of my duties because I don't want to. Okay, because the only task that you have to do is your duties, right? So if I didn't want to have a meeting today, or I didn't want to chair a meeting today, I'd say, you do it. And now you have to do it? No. That's your job. You know, that's what you signed up for. You can't give that to the vice president. That would make it so that the president can go, I don't have to do anything, I just tell the vice president to do everything, do all my jobs. You know? So I think that that shouldn't be in there. You should have your jobs, the vice president should have their jobs, and so forth, right? There's no delegated tasks, because first of all, we are, that's not a position where you can go telling people what to do, right? That's what that is. That's telling somebody what they have to do, you know? And once you get that, you're gonna get some rub from people
Yeah.
who don't get along. And then that person will go, well, I told him to do it, and he just won't do it. I
No.
delegated it like I said I could,
We can remove it.
you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that can be removed. Because, you know, it's stuff like that, and that's why we need somebody with your experience sitting on the board, because nobody here has the kind of experience in reading this stuff.
Well, I've read lots of contracts, but I think that, and this is my personal feeling, because this is not an amendment, this is a replacement. Because there's 27 changes to a thing that has about 28 clauses in it. And that's a replacement, in my opinion. With that many changes, it's a replacement of the bylaws. And to do it this quickly, with no comment period, like a 90-day comment period, that's what I would have done. If I was gonna have that document, I would have called for a 90-day comment period. And, you know, you can call a special meeting later on and say, okay, this is what we wanna do. Everybody's had a chance to chew on that and look at the differences, look at the changes that you're planning on making. And you could also see, here's another thing. This document tomorrow is up for a yay or a nay. And with that big of a document, that many changes, it's possible that people go like that, okay? And if they do, the whole thing is done. But if you have a review period, that people can do what I did and say, come in here and say, well, this is what I think about that, this is what I think about that, and you can get everybody on board to whatever changes are approved by everybody.
Yes
Then-
and no,
Because that big change in basically 10 days.
I'm not sure
maybe
whether it
people have
says
seen
the
it,
bylaws, but I know that the articles, but I think the bylaws too can only be changed at the annual meeting.
Yeah.
Well,
But we gotta get those fees raised this year, because I'm not gonna go through another year like this.
well, I don't
You
know.
just haven't got the money. If the fees stay the way they are,
If we only get $18,000 a year, we're going nowhere. We're going nowhere. And 500 is not a lot of money. It is a big jump, but it's not a big jump.
in the last 2 years, I'm the one that's proposed a special assessment. And guess what? If we don't go through, I'm gonna propose it again, because I don't like buying 2 sets of tires every year. Right?
You don't have to, no.
No, I'm still gonna get to that part.
Huh?
I'm still gonna get to that part. I'm still gonna get round the rest of it, make sure the road signs are in place. and
Yeah,
all the
because
rest
above
of
you
the
on
rest
Yellow
of
Book, that's all bedrock now too.
it, You know?
And going around,
Tires are the
as
cheapest.
you go divvy, because you might not
Well, I
drive
know,
some of
I've
these
driven the
roads,
whole neighborhood a
that's
couple of
pretty.
times now already, just so I could give a feel for what it looks like and what would need to be done.
Yeah,
Some areas are a real mess.
Yeah, some people are.
But last year, it wasn't that bad.
and then you got the one guy over on Coral Reef, when he put his driveway and he put the end of it in 3 inches above the road.
What did that do? Did he put it into the road?
No, he stopped it right there, but
He
it's
stopped
like
it right
3
there, but
inches
it's-
above.
it's
And when
it's
the
above.
water runs, it runs right into the road and down, because he didn't put a swale or anything under it.
So you got a waterfall at the end of your driveway.
Okay.
And, yeah, on a lot of the places, and, you know, a lot of the road damage was actually caused by the repair crews. Bringing in the pylons
Oh, yeah.
and all the rest of it, the machines. Oh, they ripped these roads up like you won't believe.
Really?
Nobody's
Yeah.
following the speed laws, nobody.
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 And if you look at a lot of the pylons,
Mhm.
they put them in the swales.
So
in
that's
this
one
road.
thing we're gonna be looking at the next board meeting is, well, we're already talking about it, but and we put it on Facebook, that every intersection should have signs and road signs. And a neighborhood watch and speed limit sign, remember, 15, slow down, 15, slow down. They come up here at 40, 50 miles an hour. And the cement trucks do too. And every time they do, within that week, we have to go down and replace dirt down the bottom.
So come down, and you hear them when they come off the concrete. And it's like, all right, which one was it this time, what the concrete? Or the drivers, the cars, they think it's a hill climb. And it's not so much now with the concrete, it got better with the cars. There's still a few that race up and down, right? But
And we seem to be having a problem with ATVs on certain roads. They're
I've
tearing
heard the
roads up.
ATV, I don't think an ATV is gonna tear up a road very much.
oh,
They're
Racing,
racing, they're
yeah.
racing them up there.
Really?
yeah.
I've heard them every once in a while going up and down the road, but,
And they have no right to be on the road. They're
well,
not
They're illegal.
Yeah.
I know, kinda, sorta,
And they
No,
don't
they are
live
illegal,
here,
that's what
but
the
they
police
don't live
commission
here, they're
said.
just coming here.
yeah.
But there was one the other day that come flying down the road, almost fell somebody off the road.
Yeah,
Just
that's
get
not
going.
good. I mean, that's not good. I mean, they should drive, you know, I'm not an anti-ATV kind of person because I think that as long as these people are enjoying their ATV, they're not using their energy in a worse way.
Right.
You know, I mean, if that's, all I have to do is listen to ATV go by every once a month or 2 months, 2 times a month. I'm okay with that, you know, because I think that some of these young people that do that kind of shit have to have an outlet of some sort on this rock that we live on. You know, and to me, that would be a fun thing. I used to have a dirt bike, a motorcycle, and I used to travel every road I could on this island, and I had a blast doing it, you know? But I didn't bother anybody, but I'm not young either.
But
But
when
there
they
is
put the
danger.
concrete in there,
Yeah,
right, all of a sudden we don't get the ATVs coming up here. Because they're not bouncing all over the place.
sure, I mean, that's.
So
why
they're
using
they're
those
actually
roads
going to the roads
That are.
that are bad.
Yeah.
The rocks are all loose and that's why they're spitting all the shit.
Well, if we fix our roads, then they won't be coming back.
And to do that,
No,
we need to
you
increase the
money.
fees.
Well, I don't know, because I haven't gotten any of the previous data. Like the previous data for the roads for the past years was not as expensive as it is now, right? And I don't know that things have gone up 100% or 200% in the cost of doing what we used to have done, or if
Well, you know, some construction, ask them how much it would cost to grade 7.5 miles of road.
yeah, but see, that's the thing,
Swell.
is you don't have to grade 7.5 miles of road.
No, but that'll give you an idea, or
But-
ask them per mile.
Per mile.
Yeah, and here's the other thing, is like, you can take roads, you can make repairs, okay, and you can fix, right?
Yeah.
So on some of the roads, you make repairs, you fix this drainage ditch because it's getting out of hand, you throw some big boulders in the ditch so that it breaks the water down, it slows it down, keeps the sediment from flowing on down and making a bigger ditch. But if you were to get a good price, and I don't know how much it costs on island for crush and run, right? And you cover these roads with crush and run, a drag box on the back of a tractor can straighten out ruts in no time. You drive up and down that road and over the crush and run, and you've got a new road just by dragging a box.
Now, one of the
Right.
problems we found, and I mentioned it to you in one of the emails, but that we saw, like, you can put dirt down. It's gonna get washed away with the
Not dirt.
rains.
Crush and run. Crush and run is designed so that as you put it down, it locks itself
Yeah,
together.
it's called caliche on island.
Caliche? I thought it was clay.
Caliche.
Okay.
Caliche is the one that you wet and it sets like concrete.
Okay,
It bounces
I'm
stuff
talking
to each
about
other.
stone though, it is actual
Yeah,
stone,
that's-
But we
No,
have,
but it's
we
rough
have that
stone.
on our thing to look in for the next, you know, to get estimates on that stuff, but we gotta start getting estimates in the beginning. These guys wait until we have money to spend, and then they get estimates. I want them to get estimates, so we make a plan, and then when we get that amount of money, because they like to spend the money as I get it, and I'm not giving it to them.
Yeah. Well, that's why we spent $80,000 really quick, is that you got the money and then it went out the door really quick. It would have been nice to slow the roll down a little bit and to have that money carry over to the next year and maybe not do such large projects, because no project has ever been done that big.
I know, but those were, according to the engineer, they were really necessary, because.
Yeah, but that engineer is a unknown. The membership had no input on that. And so nobody knew $80,000 was
No, the
being
membership
spent.
didn't have an input. The membership has an input every year when
No,
we
I'm
say.
not
if
talking
we
about the
get-
money.
I know, if we get the money, this is what we're gonna plan on doing.
But I agree with you in some aspects. This is not the way the board has performed ever.
Right.
Okay, that needs to be changed. I agree. I got
I
voted
think
out.
what it
I got
does-
voted out of that this year. But when that cement was put on divvy,
I think that.
I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, and see, here's the problem with that. Well, and there's the problem,
Yeah.
right? Because first of all, you can know about it. But the most important thing is you should know as a member of an association how much it's gonna cost. Okay? Because what it did, it took the wind out of your sails.
Yeah.
Because everybody can go, look what Barbara did. She collected $105,000, never been done in the history of this damn association, but then they blew it. Right? In that 1 year, they spent $87,000, and nobody knew that $87,000 was being spent.
Well, the cement was 78.
Okay. And see, the thing is like, that's what it was,
And
but-
the original estimate on the upper part alone from somebody else, that was gonna be 68 by itself. So we did really good in getting, and we were told these two, that one was immediate, this one is like, you're pretty darn near being immediate because you're not gonna last another few months.
And when they did the one over on Divvy, the 100-foot section, that was $35,000.
Yeah, that's huge. It was 30, I think. I think it was 30 in the.
It
thing
was
that
on
you
there
had.
as 30,
Huh?
but it cost 35.
No, I don't know how they.
Well,
Because he overspent.
no, cause
I did a little section and he thought he was getting it for free and it wasn't.
the guy said, I can widen the road this much and it'll be better for you, and Brian went, go ahead.
Well,
Yeah, you're gonna pay for it.
that was done, but it's not reflected in there, in that document, because I think it says 30,000 for
Oh, well, it was
last year.
25 minutes with the 30.
Well, it's what was paid in that year, not what was spent the year before, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it says. That's the
Yeah.
profit and loss for 2020.
It's
that.
weird.
But anyway, it's, you know, I just think that you did something so good by collecting all the money, and then it's like, it's all gone. A lot of it's gone, and I don't know that everybody knew where it was going. You know what I mean? So it's,
Well, I yes and no, because before it happened, it was put on Facebook, this is what we're planning.
yes.
I will put, nobody said anything.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
It's not like it was a hidden project. The project was out there, the cost was not.
No,
You know what I mean? I never saw the cost.
it cost me that much.
No, No, money was never,
Nothing
the
about
guys
money.
never wanted money
There's
put
no
out.
documents that anybody can read that shows what the proposed cost would be. I'm just saying that if I was president of an association, I would make sure that all the members knew that and agreed to that before it got done. Because after it's done, it's gone, it's done and gone, right? But that can take what Barbara did and taint it. Because here's what you did. You did something miraculous in that year. And then in that same year, the board did something so shitty and atrocious by spending all $87,000 of it. Would now anybody know that it was $87,000 that they spent? You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, you can't say enough good things about what you did. But you can say a lot of bad things about what was done.
I understand
Right?
what you mean, but you know what?
It's the board's money. I mean, it's the
The board,
association's
yeah.
money, and it was spent without them knowing. And not without them knowing.
But
They
that's,
knew the
yeah,
project.
but that's
They didn't know the
been
cost.
going on for so many years that I don't even know if,
And you know what?
the board doesn't know any better, which is a
The
problem.
board should, and that's the, you know, that's a dilemma within the board. I think that the board should know better, because when the articles of incorporation say a $5,000 liability, that's a $5,000 liability. You can't go into an $80,000 or $78,000 liability for the,
Well, the first thing I was told by the old board,
mhm.
because I wanted to print the minutes, They said, no, these are private meetings.
Oh, bullshit.
Well, that's what I was told.
That's
And you know
bullshit.
what? Not knowing anything, I'm like, okay,
There is
You're
no
the
private
old board?
meetings of a board of directors.
yeah, there are.
Why?
Yeah.
Why can the board of directors hold secrets
There are
from
open
their
meetings and
association? Huh?
there are, even in public, I know for corporations, there are open meetings and closed meetings.
Well, I disagree with that completely, and maybe that should be something you add in this thing, because there should never, ever be any secret meetings of a board.
Not secret,
Because
but
you represent the association
even
members.
I remember, even at,
All should be public.
educational meetings, whenever the board met, there were closed meetings and there's open meetings.
Well, that's a different thing. They're not representing a whole bunch of people like the association is. Association is made up of a corporation.
School board
We're
is
all,
opening thousands of
Yeah.
people.
not financially.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Yes.
No.
Your
it's
taxpayer
totally different.
dollars are being spent by them.
Education is totally different than a corporation, okay? Because you're dealing with a corporation and every one of us is a member of that corporation, okay? We call it an association and we're all members, okay? And so if a board that we elect has a meeting, any meeting, it should be public. In what case would you have to have a private meeting that you don't want an association member to know about? In what case?
If anybody ever asked me, they got the straight truth out of me, but
But in what case would you have a secret meeting that's not publicized? There should not be any of them, because if there is one, you're doing something wrong.
But you know
Because
what,
you
too?
don't want to tell your
we
association
never had
members.
a way of publicizing them because Rick never published anything.
Yeah, but still, you said that there's secret meetings and there's.
No,
Well, no, I
It's
never
not
said
secret.
secret. I never.
Public meetings and non-public meetings, but, you know, the previous board said that these are private. No, they're not. There's no
No,
private
they-
document in this
Let me take the
association.
word private back. They said, we don't publish.
And all of them should be published. The minutes, the secretary is supposed to take the minutes of the meetings. The minutes of the meetings belong to the association. They don't belong to the secretary, they belong to the association, to the boards in the association, and every member should be able to see those minutes and what happened at that meeting.
Well, don't
Because
create a
that's
war down
where,
at the annual meeting. Just get on the board and change.
well, here's what I'm saying. It's like, that's how $87,000 was spent without anybody ever knowing about it. They knew what the project was. You guys had to have spoken about the price. But no member was made aware of the price, right? So that's what I'm saying is the goodness that you did by collecting $105,000, which blows my mind, is the wind is being taken out of those sails by that aspect. You know, if that would have been as upfront as the project itself,
Well, ask the president why he
because I
didn't.
saw some comments where people were going, and I don't even know where the president lives.
He's in the yellow house up there.
Yellow.
The one that used to have the
Both
windmill.
of them had the wing, but.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he still got the windmill sitting down.
Yeah.
It's inefficient.
Came down in the hurricane, but it didn't save him any money.
So, but I think that it should have been as open, the cost of it should have been as open as the project itself. Because I saw some comments saying, you know, the rest of our roads need to be done and stuff like that.
Oh, they came in right away. Do you mind?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But you can't. It would cost over $5 million.
Yeah.
At this rate, it would cost over $5 million to pave this entire place.
Mhm.
You see?
But one of the things we were told by the engineer is that anything except concrete is going to be a waste of money on these two
On the
steep
hills,
hills.
They'll wash out.
Yeah.
Asphalt would wash out, I understand that, but asphalt can break too, because if you have, I don't know how thick that is.
4, 6,
The concrete?
Oh,
6.
please, it's
6 or 8 inches.
Okay, good.
It's
Because
6
if
inches
it's
minimum.
4, you can just write it off now. Because concrete trucks going up here are just going to crack the shit out of it. And then you're gonna have a mess.
Oh, and that was another thing. We had the caution tapes up so people wouldn't drive through. They
Mhm.
just written down.
Mm.
Just written down.
Well, you're lucky you don't have tracks through your concrete then. Because concrete has to cure for 28 days.
Oh, we got
It's strong.
one thing complaining that the road wasn't open, so she missed bingo.
The road was what?
Wasn't open, so she missed bingo.
that night.
There's two ways out.
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
Every neighborhood.
But she has a four-wheel Jeep, but she doesn't have a four-wheel, so she can't use those roads.
You use all of them. I just went through this whole neighborhood with my Jeep and never needed four-wheel
I
drive.
know, well,
We do too.
they
She's
didn't
an
agree
older
about it.
person.
She's an older person, but I said to her, why do you put in four-wheel drives?
Oh, let's
I
be
don't know
right
how
out
to-
there, it's your mother.
Hmm?
It's your mother. Not your mother, I'm thinking it's Brett's mother.
But it's my mother?
Oh
My mother's
God,
here
no, it's
again?
Brett, no, it's Brett's mother.
Whose mother?
Brett,
Brett.
sure.
Yeah, sure. The guy with the front loader.
What is it?
The guy with the front loader.
Oh, the front loader, the guy with the front loader here?
Yeah,
Really?
He charges us 65 an hour.
Oh, that's nice.
yeah, but he's only a lightweight one. You know?
Well, if you can crush and run, that's perfect.
The purpose of it was just to clear out some of the swales.
Well, he's got a front loader, but it's a backhoe?
Yeah, it's a back one.
Okay, so that's great for clearing out swells. But when you say clearing out swells, what do you mean?
Remove the waste, let it flow nice. See, that's, Brian
Swells
hires
shouldn't-
people but doesn't know what they're gonna do.
Well,
Like
the
that
swells-
jackhammering, oh my God.
Well, swells being packed with shit is one thing, but swells with boulders in them is fine.
Yeah,
Because that's slowing down the water. But if they have a bunch of debris and rocks, or not rocks, but rocks are good, branches and stuff like that,
Yeah.
I can understand clearing those out. But I think that what we need to do is fill all the swales. You know, there's one pile down there that has got decent sized rocks and dirt in
Yeah.
it, right? That particular pile would be great to go and dump in a lot of these deep swells, because the bigger rock will slow it down. The sediment there is a lot heavier, so it's less likely to fall down, us down the hill. But,
Yeah, that's on our list, but
and even if you did like a number 2 rock in the swells that are existing right now, so it's like a French drain,
right.
right? So you're at bedrock down there, so nothing's going any further, okay? It's as far as it's gonna go deep. Fill that up with a decent sized stone, and the water will come in there and travel down the bedrock underneath that stone, and just go out as if you never even saw it.
Okay, so at our
People could
first
actually
meeting,
do it.